Hello, everybody.
Howdy.
Welcome back to Westeros. We are here with a Sea of Spears Sunday, and we have some accounting coming up. Yeah! Super excited. Get hyped.
Yay,
Uh,
maths!
yeah! Get out your Excel spreadsheets, nerds. We're rolling hard. We are going to be picking up today with
I'll
some
be
more.
not in Google Sheets, just so we're
Uh,
aware.
all right, well, somebody's got to be weird. But we'll be picking up with some more House Fortune rolls shortly, because part of the game is kingdom management. It's not all hitting people with sticks or getting laid. Sometimes you
Aw.
also need to be responsible
Aw.
and decide which of your small folk live and die. So
Wait, some of you are getting late?
they are.
Sorry, I'm being silly.
They are. So we'll be picking up with that shortly, rather than any big, super dramatic cliffhanger. We had kind of this took a week or two to unfold cliffhanger. But what's the new thing going on in Bela's life right now?
There's a wedding coming up.
Well,
Oh.
there's that.
Oh,
There we
but
go.
there's something else. No, I was
What
I
was
was
the,
slow playing it.
okay. What was
That-
the new responsibility she got
So-
at the end of last
So
episode?
something that Bela has wanted as a non-heir in a house, as other non-heirs probably also want in their lives, is some sort of land holding to manage or watch over, to kind of call like theirs a bit. And Bela has gotten that in the form of cousin Will's lands. Now, it's not actually Bela's, but it is hers to steward for now, for a while, under House Nymaryen's name. And so
Yeah, you are not yet formally creating House Nymaryen of Will under Lady Bela, but there's an implication there that if you do well enough, that may be what's in the future there. But yeah, it didn't happen yet. It's like, Bela, go show that you can do this, and maybe you're allowed to do this, right? Like, was kind of the vibe you got.
yeah, it's sort of like a test drive, both Bela needing to test drive it, but also House Nymaryen needing to test drive Bela's skills in management as well. So it's both really good that she has this opportunity. Bela is looking forward to it. The downside is that House Will has kind of been not abandoned, but it hasn't really had good stewardship for a very long time. And because of that, the lands and the holdings and everything in it is kind of in a bad way. And so Bela is kind of coming into, I was describing before the show started that an optimistic view was that with some good effort, she could get it into a fixer-upper state instead of being a money pit. So that's how I'm going to look at it.
Since it's been, I don't know, a year and a half or something since Cousin Will came up, you may recall that and this is like a legit cousin to House Nymaryen. Their grandmother was a Will, Lord Maker's wife. So like, you guys are legit related to this guy. It's not a affectionate cousin. It's a literal cousin in this case. But he had been on the roads for about 4 or 5 years, trying to track down the House Nymaryen Steel, or Valyrian Steel. Here we go. Sorry, they're not called Nymaryen Steel yet. You guys gotta earn that.
Wait, yeah,
You'll need to collect a couple dozen more. But he was out trying to recover the House Valyrian Steel weapon. So he had been kind of off doing his knight errant stuff, and making a living as a sellsword, instead of seeing to the house. So he was, even before he died, he was absolutely an absentee lord that really kind of wasn't. He was being very Will, right? He was more concerned with vengeance for his father and recovering the pride of the family than he was stewarding the lands. So he left behind a very beleaguered Maester, Maester Tomas, who is a Crakehall by blood, like the Strongboar from the Westerlands. So you guys met him, and he's just kind of desperately trying to keep things together. And most of the people from House Will aren't trusting him much. And because he's this outsider from far away, right? And they don't even particularly like the other assistants that you guys had. Some purely military assistance has been there with Sir Artos of Prince's Pass, who is a knight from House Fowler, which is another Dornish house. And they were even surly to Sir Artos. And often, a bunch of the troops wouldn't show up to go on patrol and, stuff like that, because they're just like, you're not of Will. The PCs, when they traveled through, they are of the blood of Will. So the people were very kind of formally opening up a little bit more. And even then, yeah, they're kind of weird
This is
to
still
you
fucking
guys.
creepy.
Yeah, it's
Well, everyone has that relative from the weird, like, tiny New England town that's full of weird culture.
Yeah.
This is our branch of that.
Yeah. These guys are the like your Louisiana backwoods swamp, your Kentucky backwoods holler, your distant valley somewhere in the mountains of Afghanistan. Like, that's these guys. They're your very rural, very old school, a little otherworldly type. The lands of House Will are where the Dornish set their horror movies, right? Like, it's that vibe, right?
Do they worship the old gods, or are they with the seven?
I mean, there's probably a room called a sept that has 7 little things in it.
Far.
I'm going to enjoy kind of exploring this in a very cautiously coming to know this new place.
Is there any oily black stone anywhere in the castle?
Yeah.
This is where Bela goes down into the dank bowels of the castle and finds that there's actually a shrine to the many-faced god or something.
Hey, that's where Bela picks up a prestige class.
So yeah, it's very, very distilled Dornish, right? It is to Dorne as Dorne is to the rest of the Seven Kingdoms in a way. And the people are also they've gotten very sullen and insular because, again, their lord has been gone for so long, and you guys did do right by them. You brought back his body and his sword, so you're safe there, right, or whatever. It's just they've not been very cooperative with Sir Artos or Maester Tomas. So Maester Tomas is not mechanically baked into their sheet as a maester because he hasn't been advising anyone for a long time. He's been trying to do this shit himself. So instead of a proper maester that always gives a +3 to House Fortune rolls, he's going to be kind of his own, just an allied NPC that will be giving Bela a different bonus on House Fortune rolls. It's going to be half of his status, which is not super duper high. So that's one mechanical difference that Bela will be dealing with. Meanwhile, another young Nymaryen also has an extended homework project going on. How are things going in Dannett Lands with Adam the Administrator?
Well, they were going okay until the very last month that we rolled, and then things went a bit wrong. So, hoping to claw that back, because, going for Adam's not talking to Grandpa right now, so going to help from him is not an option as far as he's concerned. I mean, he technically could, but he doesn't want to. So
Yeah, you had growth, blessing, growth, and then a curse. You just, again, the lands of House Dannett are different geographically than the lands of House Nymaryen. You are, it's the bigger, broader agricultural area. So that storm just did a number on you guys, more than it did, to Wyvern's Rest, with its,
yeah, so
being
still
a castle, and
yeah. So I've managed to at least slightly reduce the penalty to rolls because of like the poor law stat.
yeah.
So it's not as bad as it was, but if I have too many more bad rolls, things could get to like levels of bad.
Yeah, and you did also, you did also get, the agriculture and the granary up and running, which isn't nothing.
Yes.
Like those are going to help with future roles. So you've been, you've had a lot more ups than downs. Grandfather hasn't been asking, like you haven't been getting ravens. He's apparently maybe in the same sort of, if he wants help, he can ask for it. If he needs to tell me anything, he can write. Like you guys are both in this kind of standoffish,
Well, I mean, like,
neither one wanting to make the move, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, also, like, Adam did try to reach out and got stonewalled, so has gone, well, if you're not
Yeah.
going to talk to me, then, fuck you.
Next year, Adam's next show about House Will asking for money.
That's a bad idea.
Adam comes marching up to Wyvern's Rest with all the troops from House Dannett. It's like, fuck it, old man, let's do this. Like, I was like, if I can.
Single combat.
Right? Yeah, I mean, you'd have a shot. I mean, if you're gonna challenge any of them to single combat, you're like, listen, I heard Bela left. And there's like a 50-50 that Lucaris is really hungover right now. So, you and me, Grandpa, let's go. Oh shit, I forgot about Reyna. She can only half kill me though. So you.
But yeah, like.
But I've done the math. Like, I have killed by her multiple times, so never fully kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Adam's not going to do that, but yeah, he after the tourney ended, he tried to like open up a dialogue and seek his grandfather's acceptance at bare minimum. He did not get that, so he has taken that as a sign as Grandpa doesn't accept him. So he's like, well, I'm going away anyway, so I'm not going to talk to him.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Healthy relationships, men and their feelings.
Yeah. Put my feelings in here, and then one day I'll die.
Yeah, exactly. I will let them out on that day, and not before.
Well, I mean, to be honest, like Adam certainly sets out to try and do that, but he is not actually capable of hiding his feelings at all.
He tells himself, he's like, that's the plan, and then about 8 seconds later, he starts crying. Yeah, it's okay.
He at least has the decorum to like go and do that privately.
Yeah. So
well,
we made
Reyna
it through.
has asked. She has sent Raven or letters. I mean, just
Yeah, and they don't necessarily need to be ravens, and you could ride and visit. It's like a half-day ride. It's.
Yeah, Adam will have no problem talking to any of his siblings who like have all been very kind and supportive. It's just Grandpa he's not talking to. He will, and he's not even going to say like don't pass on that information. He's basically going to assume that Reyna is telling Grandpa what he says, but as long as he doesn't see it happen or know about it, it's fine.
no, I'm not telling him
yeah,
anything unless he asks, and he's not going to ask. So I'm gonna.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Adam's quite happy to like keep.
My pride is not involved, so I can make fun of other people being prideful right now.
Yeah. So yeah, Reyna will be appraised of what's going on.
Reyna will visit.
I mean, then he would probably even in private at least share his concerns about the past month where the storm kind of took its toll on the infrastructure. But yeah, he's quite happy because Raina's going to be running House Nymaryen eventually anyway. So like, he's quite happy to be involved in talking to her.
Same here.
Okay. Let's pick back up then with our Excel spreadsheets of Kingdom administration. We made it through the first 4 months of a pretty a monumentous year, if not a role played out in excruciating detail year. We are now most of
But
the
if you
way
average
towards
it all.
exactly. Like, you guys are busy. You guys are busy, but we will be in a couple months. It's Bela's wedding, and then a couple months after that, you are hitting the road to the Riverlands, and kind of not taking your time to get there, but traveling to the Riverlands for Vannon's wedding. Sir Vannon, the bastard of Brackhaven, and Blackwood, is either one works. Honestly, both titles. That was a ward of House Nymaryen, and you'll be going to that wedding in the Twins up in the Riverlands. He's marrying into House Frey, a very prominent Riverlands house. And then you are traveling south down the western coast, making your way to Highgarden for Rhaena's wedding, which will be a Highgarden affair. And then you're traveling home for Lucaris's wedding, which will be back down here in Dorne. So that's what's going on in about the next 9 months from now.
So when you say home, does that mean that Lucaris's wedding's going to be at Wyvern's Rest and not Ghost Hill?
It's going to be at Ghost Hill, but it's Dorne, so I call it home. Like, you're coming back to Dorne, and Ghost Hill also isn't terribly far from Wyvern's Rest, so yeah, he'll be back to Fortsea. But the wedding itself will be at Ghost Hill. So it's a pretty big 13 months that are planned out, that kicked off with basically the end of Adam's name day. My plan was to stop in the middle of month 12 for another name day tourney for Adam, and that'll take us about 8 months real time, and then we'll move on to the so we're getting close over there.
You can wrap it up by 2025.
Yes, and in 2026, we will start the arc for Lucaris's wedding. But
Which will feature a name day tourney for Adam. That's a little late.
yeah.
He was only having a tourney because it was a big.
It'll be a grand 10-day affair to make up for it being a month late again. Like, that's what we'll. So then, as we kick off our real-time LARP of Cyberpunk Red in the year 2045,
we're just treading water until we catch up.
Yes. Then I'll bust out the alternate campaign rules, and we'll start the Nymaryen Fast and Furious crossover real time with our VR rigs and our hover cars in real life in the mid 2040s. The campaign will finally really get rolling. That's the plan. We're ready. Let's do this thing.
I see what you did there, rolling on cars.
Because of Fast and Furious. Yeah, you're welcome. So
Wow.
let's go back to month number 5. And here we have a House Fortune roll for House Nymaryen, a House Fortune roll for House Dannett, and a House Fortune roll for House Will.
You all have
Hang on, I
responsibilities
forgot to
but me.
open that.
So, yeah.
PDF. There we go.
So when I roll this, it's status, and do any bonus dice for
It's
specialties?
status and I think stewardship.
Oh,
That's what the specialty's called? Yeah, I don't think. Pretty
Thank
sure
God.
Bailey didn't take that one.
What?
She's like, what will I ever need to read for?
She can read. Leave her
Who needs
alone.
math? I just call everything an army. I don't need to count.
all the crops are for the army. It's not
Yeah.
separate. It's part
Yeah.
of it.
It is a status roll with the stewardship bonus. Bela, add 3 to your total. It's a +2 from Maester Thomas and a +1 from Sir Artos for their assistance this month. And then everybody else hopefully has their totals. You've got a Maester, and Maesters
Yeah.
are good for +3.
That was the thing I was
Got-
going to ask. Like, what? Because I've had got the granary and the agriculture. Like, does that change my role?
I don't. Yes, the
Yeah.
agriculture.
You said it was going to improve it, so
Yeah,
I don't know how.
Okay, agriculture is +1 to House Fortune rolls.
Cool.
So you are sitting, I believe, on a total of +2, because you still have a -2 law modifier, but you have a +3 from the Maester and a +1 from food agriculture.
Okay. Let me just make a note of that so I don't forget about it.
Yeah, and it's best if you put each House Fortune bonus next to each thing, right? Like on the sheet, there's the spot for law modifier and population modifier.
I will do that then. Actually, that's helpful.
yeah,
I don't
and
have a
then-
population modifier.
Right, that's a 0 on you right now. And then down under wealth holdings,
Yeah.
Maester Ferris is +3, and the food agriculture is +1. So, because there might be times, maybe Maester Ferris is sick this month, or whatever. So you might have to adjust them. Felicia, are we good on all Reina's bonuses?
I got a +5 for the vineyards, a +3 for the Maester, and a +1 for the food agriculture. My law and population modifiers cancel each other out, so I should have a +9.
Sounds right.
So the granaries don't do anything.
The granaries are an add-on to the agriculture. They offset population loss.
Oh yeah.
So remember, anytime you're going to lose population, you lose less. Granaries are stockpiling for a rainy day, right? So yeah, that.
Okay, I've got that all written down now, so I will remember.
All right,
I won't remember it. I'll be able to refer to it.
gotcha.
So,
So all right, let's roll those dice and let's start with House Nymaryen. What is your total sitting at?
Have it set. I just did the math.
I just did the math and then didn't tell you. Okay.
No, I did the math. I didn't get the dice figured out. I
Alright.
didn't pick up all the dice. All right, so I roll 5D for status, correct?
Yeah, status roll with the stewardship speciality.
I don't have that speciality.
Okay, well then, fuck you.
I'm considering getting it, but not yet.
Okay.
Okay. Keep all 5. 12. 29. Oh no!
9. All right.
Oh no!
That is something very
That's
bad
awful!
is happening.
If I had to be sober for this, I'd be so angry.
can I,
Paid release for 1 month.
can I ask it? When we do the rolls, do we always drop the lowest dice, or can we choose to drop a higher dice?
If it's a specialty thing, you always drop the lowest. You always keep the highest. So here's a question.
Massage the total that way.
Here's a question for Felicia. As the steward of Nymaryen lands, when a curse is rolled, are you keeping the curse on House Nymaryen, or are you putting it on a banner house? Because that's one of the things banner houses do for you. And if you're putting it on a banner house, which one?
Okay.
I will let you decide that much, and then I'll give you the one other decision of reducing 1 resource by a D3 or 2 resources by 1. But first, you're going to decide, are you keeping it or are you shucking it off on somebody else? And this will be before I describe the thing. We'll figure out what the bad luck is after I know which house to put it on. Like, if you wanted, you could put this on House Dannett and be like, look, Grandpapa, I'm doing so well. Not like that, Adam.
Who's he to
Right.
tell? Grandpa?
Or,
What a dick move that would be.
or you could put it on House Will. It's not like anybody will ever know. This is a purely metagame narrative choice of you using an
Yeah.
ablative banner house. It's not like you're gonna write a letter to Adam and go, "Lol, fuck you," and then like he opens the envelope and a tornado hits, right? Like it's. So I'm just saying, they'll never know in character.
But they know now.
Because that is a perk of a banner house. It's the,
I mean, I do have an additional question if Felicia wants more time to think.
okay, what's your question?
Can Destiny be spent to keep dice on House
Nope.
Fortunes?
Nope,
Yeah,
it's too much of an abstract.
I have a question too.
Well, also then, like, did our Destiny points refresh
Yes.
before?
Yeah, Destiny points. Yeah, they refreshed at the end of the tourney, and the kickoff of the new the wedding arc.
Hey.
Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I got a good Stolly question. Let's say I've been keeping my ear to the ground among the small folk that live near me because I haven't gone anywhere. Has there been any word or have I heard anything about any other claimants to House Will?
No,
Just
yeah.
cousins, bastards, things of that nature.
no, it's
They're
you
pretty
guys.
quiet.
You lot are the closest known
Yeah.
blood relations, unless he squirted out a bastard while he was gallivanting around. In which case, that kid's pretty young, so you don't have to worry about it until your children are an appropriate age for them to challenge to the death.
Even if they weren't, they didn't have any official claim. I just wondered if I'd heard anything or anybody going
No.
like, okay,
Nope.
cool. That's all I got, Felicia. Sorry.
So, Felicia, House Nymaryen keeping the curse, or are you shucking it off on someone else?
Shut. The main house can't be weakened.
I'm shucking. I'm just trying to determine. I'm gonna shuck it to House
you gonna-
Sandstorm.
Okay, I was like, if you wanted to really cower it out, I could roll a d4, and then you could be like, it's not my fault, you guys. But all right, Aunt Elia, it is.
How could you?
Right after all she did for you. So,
Symbolically, that's the same as sending it to Dannett Land since Elliot taught Adam how to shoot the bow.
do you want Aunt Elia to suddenly struggle with minus D3 to 1 resource, or 2 resources at -1?
Your resources at -1.
Okay.
There are a couple in there. She could take that one hit too, and it wouldn't it doesn't drop anything.
All right. You will get word from Aunt Elia that she is having a bandit problem they're having trouble keeping down. A few of the bastards are on horses now, and they don't wander into bowshot as easily. And that she has spent some extra money in preparation of trying to quell that problem. So she lost 1 point of law and 1 point of wealth. All right.
Okay, let me open that
Good
back
jo-
up.
Good job, Felicia. Just
Shut up.
so, there's Nymaryen. In my notes, we'll go cursed Aunt Elia. Here we go. That's nice.
How could you?
That's your, yeah.
So in a non-mechanical way, I guess I could spend some of my time helping with that problem
Right.
instead of just emptying our wine reserves.
Yeah. We will see what happens next month. House Dannett.
We're all out of wine.
Yeah. House Dannett. What did Adam roll? What?
Curse.
Oh no. All right.
Who did you guys piss off?
Right?
Apparently a god.
I have done-
curses.
I have done nothing wrong in my life ever.
That seemed way too blatant, but denial.
So do you want to lose a
I think
D3?
some of you have him keeping the 7 close to your heart.
Says Luke Harris in the fountain now filled with wine, splashing around.
Hey,
Do you
if
want-
they said this wasn't allowed, I didn't read that part.
Do you want a D3 from 1 resource or a -1 from 2 resources?
I'll take the -1 from defense and influence.
You just choose which penalty. I choose where they're gonna go. So
I'll take the D3 to 1 then.
D3 to 1. All right.
Oh wait, do you pick that as well?
Yes.
I'll take the -1 then from 2.
-1 from 2.
If I can't.
Spread out the pain.
Let's.
Because like -2 to. Oh, you know what? It doesn't matter. Just like let's get on.
It's okay. Relax. It's okay.
It's
This
really
is
not okay.
this is part of house management. It's okay.
I know it is, but like
The word
point of
curse
plan
is just
to try and
terrible.
manage the fucking house. So if it's getting curses over and over, I might just.
It's Ash. I promise. It's okay. You get a -1 to power and a -1 to population, because that increasing bandit problem is also starting to hit Dannett lands. So you lose some troops and a -1 to population because their bandits are stealing some food stuff, etc., etc.
So,
But you don't lose the point of population because of food agriculture, and you don't lose the point of power because of food agriculture. But things are getting strained, okay?
Maybe
So
we need to
chill.
hire a bandit
When I-
to come take control of all this.
can I just have a
Sorry,
minute?
go ahead.
I didn't. What's the thing that makes me lose less power? I know you. I know you
Okay, sorry. Yeah, the power, you do still lose a point. Sorry. The population, you don't.
Okay.
So, yeah,
like, is there an X? Am I going to be on penalties for being at 16 power rather than 17? Does that change anything?
No.
No. It matters when the time comes to muster the troops, which, if that happens while you are, because you have 17 points of power invested, so if the troops are ever needed, stuff might need to be downgraded or go into battle lower or something, but I'm not going to make you guys redo your power investments every time power fluctuates. We're going to take it as it's needed.
Okay, sure.
So, all right, so you lose 1 point of power. And House Will, what are we sitting on?
I rolled with my modifiers a 12, which on the
12
table
is a boon.
boon.
So,
The good house.
let's see.
Sometimes bad things happen to good people, Lucaris.
All right. Do you want to increase 1 resource by a D6 or 2 of them by a D3?
2 of them by a D3.
Okay. Let's restore 2 points of law as Bela shows up, and more of the willed troops are willing to come with her, going on patrols and chasing bandits, which is part of why the bandits are scattering
They all came over
and
here.
threatening other places. So that's 2 points there, and then
We chased them beyond our borders. Their House Nymaryen's problem now.
They can handle it. It's a big house. Lots of troops
go.
that I trained. They're fine.
1 point of wealth,
Nice.
as you have some. What's that?
Which then gets an extra point from the rare bloodline of hounds.
Right. So grandfather sent you a little bit of seed money, and you were able to use your recently made connections in the Stormlands. Some of these fine rare hounds are making their way up into House Swan territory, or something like that, and you are able to capitalize there and make some money. So we had, and then there in Will we had Boone +2 law, and +2 wealth. Auspicious, because month 6 will be Bela's wedding. But first, we do have house actions for the month. If people want to take those, you don't have to, but they're normally pretty good. And remember, you're going to be looking at either manage resources or begin projects. One project that House Will has, Erica, is 2 points of wealth out of 10 invested in Maester Thomas. Once you get enough wealth to repurchase him, you will have a full-time standalone Maester investment.
Okay.
And so you don't need to use an action to start that. You can just put wealth into it. Much like Ash had with House Dannett with the agriculture, it's like, this is some stuff that you can kind of repair, and this is you getting things in order enough that Maester Thomas can have time to help the way a Maester should, right? You're letting him, in theory, letting him catch up on his backlog of stuff, right?
Yep.
So just a note that you don't have to start that as a project, if you
All right. I will add that new wealth into my savings account for having a Maester retainer.
Okay, so he's up to 4 out of 10.
Yep,
then.
I have that.
Okay. And like I said, so that's not your action. It's just a thing.
Cool.
So, House Nymaryen, what action are we looking at? Are you managing resources, or is there any projects you want?
We had talked about projects, but no. We've got enough going on right now.
Okay, so some resource management. What points do you want to shuffle around?
You can hang on. So 1 to 1, because we were talking. We need to. Probably influence law is about the only one we're really wanting to do right now, if I remember correctly. We
Okay.
didn't discuss this.
So spending influence to increase law?
I'm gonna do 2.
Okay, so influence to 54 by my notes. Is it also what you have?
55.
After the -2?
Yes, I was
Okay.
at 57.
Okay.
Did I forget
will-
something?
Nope, I guess not. And law up by 2. In my notes, gets to a 35.
That is what I have.
Okay. So, once again, you're calling in favors from some neighbors, right? And sending out word that bandits may be escaping our lands. We are cracking down on the remnants of the Vulture King's forces, etc., and they may be scattering as we begin this dedicated program to cleanse House Will, in particular. So, the neighbors are like, those Nymaryens, now that they're in charge of the whole Stoneway, some bandits are leaking out. So a little bit of influence. It's just a little bothersome to some neighbors, but nothing super bad. House Dannett, what are you thinking?
Can I choose to not take any action?
You can. If there's no resource management that you really want to do, yeah, you don't have to.
There's none that I want to do that I can do, because the only thing that I can swap for power is population, and that's just one's at 16 and one's at 17. They're just not swapping those isn't going to do anything.
All right then. House Will, what is your action, if any, this month?
Yeah, I'd like to manage house resources.
Okay.
We have a bit of a bandit problem here in House Willlands. Things kind of gotten neglected a little bit. Maybe they just weren't quite as motivated. The knight that was here did an okay job, but I can really rustle up some bandits and take care of that problem. So I am going to spend, let's say, 3 points of influence to improve the law of the land.
Okay. Give me 1 second. That will, from my count, that's influence to 32, law to 23.
Yes.
Right?
Yep, that's
Okay.
how I see it.
So that will improve your law holding is now going to be a -2 to House Fortune rolls instead of at -5. So all right, solid stuff. And basically the same thing that House Nymaryen's doing, right? You're the influence expenditure is kind of sending word to some neighbors and pulling rank with the troops. Kind of just having to get people motivated in a little bit firmer and more noble way than normal. But you do see some results. So yeah. All right then. That does it for month 5. Month 6, Bela's wedding. So she gets some law crackdown up there north of House Nymaryen in Will Lands. And then what happens? How's the wedding? Because we'll kick it off with that. And Bela's wedding is going to be the house action for everyone this month.
Yeah, so I was scrolling to our conversation where I described some of it, so I could remind myself of the points.
Yep.
Let's see. So the marriage is going to take place on Nymaryen lands. It's going to be led up with like not the day of, but the day prior is going to have some jousting take place, not like a full tournament or anything like that, just some exhibition matches to kind of showcase some martial abilities. Then the day of, and I don't know exactly what ceremonies are like in Westeros exactly.
They can be fairly straightforward. It's just a maester, and you guys recite some vows. Normally, it's stuff like, in the name of the father, I will, protect my wife. In the name of the mother, I will love my husband. You kind of have a thing for each of the 7, except for the stranger. Maybe it ends with like, until the stranger parts us. I think that sounds pretty cool. I just made that up. But that can be your 7th point of the 7. So, yeah. And my assumption was Maester Jim would be overseeing it instead of bringing down a Maester from House Swan or something. You've got him right there, and
Yeah. So the ceremony will take place in our Great Hall. The banners from both House Nymaryen and House Swan sort of alternating around the entire Great Hall, and there'll be a little bit more martial flavor to the wedding. Bela is going to get wed in her very fancy and very shiny, very, very shiny armor. Not wearing a helmet, though, because we're inside it. Don't need it here. But her spear is going to be placed in like a prominent location. Like she'll carry it with her up to like the altar or the front or whatever is there, and she'll like set it in a very prominent place.
Yeah, and he symbolically also carries up a lance, so that they're...
or his preferred weapon. It doesn't have to be a lance.
He makes it a lance to put off any jokes about weapon length from Barrack and his other friends. So he's got his lance has to be a little bit longer than yours.
Sister of mine, will you please invite Lady Valena?
Yeah, it's assumed that most of your NPCs are present. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Lady Valena's here.
Hey, I gotta make sure that we say stuff before Rusty decides to get a gotcha on me.
What? You didn't check to see if she was alive, though. So now
Oh,
Lucaris
no.
gets dirty looks from people sitting in the grand hall with the moldering corpse of his wife. yeah,
Yep,
no.
exactly.
Yeah, but she's fine, and she is close enough. And again, Lord Barrick and Ned are able to come visit because Barrick's lands aren't super far, and Red Ronnet Congdon comes down in the entourage with Balin, and so the nearby NPCs are able to converge for this one, but it's still, you didn't. It's not a tourney with dozens and dozens of named Lord guests and stuff. Like, I know that wasn't the vibe you wanted. So, yeah.
Yeah.
People we know personally.
Yeah, pretty much. Like people who are in my war council, so to speak, at the taking on the Vulture King and that sort of stuff. So then after the ceremony, Bale gets changed into like a nice dress, kind of like what I showed at the end of Adam's Name Day tourney. I could probably put up that image again if I need to, but and then it's just like drinking and eating and that sort of stuff, celebrations, some dancing, and a good time.
And Wyvern's Rest is all gussied up for it. Philea, the Handmaiden, and young Lady Gwyneth, formerly of House Ironwood. She is currently known, like, legally as Gwyneth of Ironwood Castle, right? Like, they don't mention the bloodline, but that is the place that she is from, and she's still called, like, Lady. So it's this mysterious, she's highborn, but nobody remembers what family she's from. This just happens to be the keep, right? So, but you've got that new 12-year-old that is taking less time than Iris Dannett did to, like, warm up to you guys. Like, maybe her dad wasn't Father of the Year material or something, but also not long after she arrived, you're like, help us make the castle pretty because Bela's no good at that, right? And she's like, yay! And like, okay, cool, So, yes, Philea, your handmaiden, and young Gwyneth Ironwood are busy at work. Occasionally, Philea the handmaiden and young Gwyneth Ironwood are giggling and making eyes at Garrus Drinkwater. So it sounds like maybe Gwyneth has heard that rumor that they may be betrothed soon. He still looks a little uncomfortable with it due to age, but he's telling himself, like, it's just betrothed. Like, we're not going to get married until,
That's a good sign.
Yeah, it's still, he doesn't, like, he's not licking his chops.
He's got a calendar up. That'd be,
So he still looks a little, he's not as eager, as most young knights that are perhaps about to get betrothed, but like you said, that's a good sign. So yeah, there's some of those shenanigans going on. Lady Alysain Mormont is miserably hot because she insists on dressing up, so she's in her northern furs. Because she's like, no, these are my good ones, and she wants to show respect to the house, so she's standing there in the a bear-lined cloak.
There's some light silks, tell them the furs of a silkworm.
She has some. She just, it's not the same. So she's a little miserable.
She's doing this out of respect. It's very adorable.
Yeah, but there are no notable incidents of no fights, no drinking contests that go too far. Everyone's just generally pretty pleasant. And it's also a nice kind of mini reunion. It's been about 6 months since you guys saw most of these people. Oris and Woolly Will are here to visit. Both looking rather uncomfortable because they're in their nice clothes. And Oris went off to a small tourney down in just forgot the name, capital of Dorne, freaking Dorne's capital, where the House Nymaryen, is it
Sunspear.
Sunspear, right?
Sunspear.
No.
Yeah.
Is it Sunspear? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Wait,
yeah,
wait,
there was just the capital of Dorne, like where House
Yeah,
Nymaryen march. Is it Sunspear? Okay. I was just like, I completely was drawn a blank. So there was
Your mind decided that's not right, and then
yeah,
it's not
it's
right.
like that's too easy. It can't be that. That's their sigil.
Yeah.
So yeah, he rode down the coast for his first tourney in Sunspear, and is he's like, it's weird. I was the most heavily armed there. So the second day, I started going in just my breastplate, like everyone else. But just a queer local custom, accounting for the heat. But he placed well. He was one of the 7 champions at the end of the tourney. So he and Willie Will have more coin to live comfortably on, mysteriously, in the lands that they have taken off to.
I am going to make sure before my sister marries this, or before this brigand she's married takes him away, that I get a dance with my sister.
Aww.
Aw. Yes.
I mean, you managed to save that. Well done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that is absolutely possible, and yeah. So it's a pretty nice thing, a very Dornish wedding.
That's the whole group back together.
Yeah, and
Just like those old days.
yeah, it's been a good 6 months since you guys saw most of these folk. So it's a pretty nice event.
It may be Dragon Ball Z getting me, but after a time skip, everyone gets together. There's usually a disaster, and now I'm very concerned.
Well, there's not a guaranteed disaster, but it's funny that Luke should be the one to mention it, because House Fortune rolls are coming up, and Reyna was really busy with all the extra administration required to host Bela's wedding. So Luke is making the House Fortune roll for House Nymaryen this month.
Oh,
You had to step up. You were like, let me know if there's anything I can do, dear sister.
yeah, but I think I think I was good at.
She'll never ask me to help with the wedding.
Okay,
And
so
you're right.
Just so everyone know, because I didn't have any responsibilities, I don't know what I'm rolling.
Yes. And that's basically how most of the month goes. You're not sure that it actually saved Reyna any time, because you keep following her. What do I do about this? And she's like, water them, they're crops. And you're like, where do I get the water? What's a bucket? Right? Like, so it's like,
Wine's better than water, right? It grows in it.
I like, yeah, like if we're growing crops to make wine, clearly
you should. Wine.
That's the secret to strong wine, is that you water the grapes with wine. I'm sure of it. So yeah, you
What do I need to roll?
it is going to be a status roll with the stewardship specialty. I said stewardship.
High five
specialty
on stewardship. Woo!
And what is the total modifier, Felicia?
9. That's 9.
So, all right. So, status roll plus 9.
And since I'm clearly in danger here, my danger sense should let me roll any ones. Reroll.
You are clearly in danger.
It does not. But Ash and Erica, let's get those dice ready for Dannett and Will also.
Hey, I don't think I rolled terribly.
Just throw your dice like
I'm fucking mad at him.
like overhand pitching a bowling ball.
This is above average.
All right, so total plus 9. What are we sitting on, Robert?
22.
Nice.
22 is a growth.
Nice.
All right, but a good growth, not like a go to the
Well,
doctor.
bandit tree.
Regular growth.
Yes. Let's go with. So it's 1 resource by 1 point. And then Marion lands.
It's 22.
Let's let's improve wealth by a point.
Hey!
The dowry. I think we'll say that works. So yeah, that'll work. That'll work.
That puts it 36 again.
Yeah.
Is it like a reverse dowry?
All right, so I shook down a lot of the bandits. I got us a little extra coin. Plus, there was a dowry thing.
And what are we looking at for House Dannett?
Curse.
Oh no!
All right. Let's go find it. Do you want a D3 or do you want 2 1s?
I don't think it matters at this point.
Ash, it matters. Ash, I promise you're not going to spiral the house into nothing. Ups and downs are part of house management. Please relax and try to have fun.
I mean, you
Three
can roll really
three
high
downs
and
in a
still
row,
get...
Rusty. 3 downs in a row.
But we have to acknowledge you being there is not the variable. House Dannett just pissed off some witches at some point.
Nah.
They are still recovering from.
I'll take
from-
the one from each.
All right, they're still recovering from Maker's drought.
Or we can blame witches.
that.
They're both options.
You guys have another spate of bad weather that hits the grasslands harder. For a moment, Bela is worried that rain will mess with the joust, but the storm clouds dodge House Nymaryen and veer south a bit. So you lose 1 point of defense as Bittergrove Hall is damaged a little bit, but it's fine. It's still structural. And 1 point of influence. Because there are so many guests, and because Adam is not a great liar, when they ask how things are going at Dannett Lands, it's I've been rebuilding this after this happened, and I rebuilt this after this happened, and it just makes people realize that things are still rough on House Dannett, even after the end of Maker's drought. So 1 point of defense, 1 point of influence from House Dannett, which brings us to House Will. What are we sitting on here, Erica?
A slightly better roll, and that reduced penalty gave me an 18 this time, which says it's a blessing.
Okay. Blessing it is. And let me go back to the other end of the book for the page number. Do you want 1 thing to improve by a D3 or 2 things to improve by 1?
Let's go for the 2 different things.
Okay. Let's get 1 point of wealth because a lot of Stormlanders are traveling through, and a bunch of them are those deucedly fine hounds, right? So it'll actually be the 2 points of wealth. And let's go 1 point of population, just because things have been kind of stabilizing, and you're getting a little bit of healthy growth again.
Yeah.
And also, under let's call it, I guess, wealth holdings for House Will, while Bela is overseeing House Will, you get Swan Business or something of the sort for a +1 to House Fortune rolls. That is the benefit that the marriage into House Swan is bringing to House Nymaryen. But for now, we're going to have him intercepted by the bandits of House Will. And you guys are yoinking the +1 to House Fortune rolls and keeping them for Will lands because that's the ones that you are overseeing. All right. That
Yoink our
is.
plus.
I
What's
just
that?
imagine Balin's bringing nice things to the castle. They go missing.
So 1 thing at a time. What was Felicia's?
All I said was she's yoinking our pluses.
You have a +9.
Yeah.
Month 7. this goes back to Reyna. Unless she wants Luke to keep going, like she could delegate more if she wants.
Forgot
Oh,
what he's
no, did
doing.
it make double the work to have him do it that time?
Kinda. So is Reyna gonna roll alone?
I'll roll along.
All right. Luke,
If I roll shit, I'll let him take another.
before anybody announces totals, Luke, now that you have gotten a taste for administration and how much you don't like doing it, which of your siblings would you like to visit and offer an assist to this month? Because this is now you shirking responsibilities in House Nymaryen.
I guess I'm gonna go check on Adam. He seems like he's doing a bad time.
All right. What is
Ravens to Grandpa? That's weird.
Luke's status score?
4.
All right. That's an extra +2 coming your way, Ash, from an assist from Luke.
And I'm gonna be the whole time like, when's the last time you talked to Grandpa? Why aren't you talking to Grandpa?
That's helpful.
Ooh, that's a useful +2 bonus.
Is that a question that you're asking Adam directly?
Yeah, I'll be asking you that. Basically, what the deal is the whole time I'm there.
Yeah, well, I mean, Adam will answer like quite bluntly, I guess. Like, fuck him. He had basically like refuses to like. Yeah, it'll be fuck him. He doesn't accept me for who I am. Why should I talk to him?
Okay. I'll probably ask you like 4 more times, but not all in a row.
And then Adam's like, "P.S. Go ride a patrol. You work for me while you're down here. Get out of here."
He'll elaborate. Like, I told him that I didn't want to get married. He said he didn't want to talk about it. He refuses to talk about it still. So I'm taking that. I literally just wanted to hear that he still loves me anyway. He refuses to say that. So until he does, I'm not talking to him.
Okay, but he is a stubborn old man.
Well, then, I mean, what do you want me to do? I can't make him less stubborn.
And remember that instead of getting married, you said you wanted to serve the house in other ways, better suited to your talents, and he gave you Dannett lands. So this might be his gesture of...
Rusty, I'm going to say right now, though, I never said that in character.
But
at any point, like, that was a thing that I said to you out of character, so, like, you know...
He is a pretty good judge of character that knows his grandchildren pretty well. So him trusting you with Dannett lands could have been a sign of, that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, Adam needs the words of affirmation. He can't just, like, do stuff and assume that he knows.
I'm pointing out that it's a possibility. So month 7, what are we sitting on for Nymaryen? That's you, Felicia, my wife.
Math.
Yes, that's a big part of stewardship. That is correct.
Is 22.
All right, that is a growth. Let's go with 1 resource, 1 point. Let's go influence. It's a leftover bit. So as all the guests from the wedding are returning home, they are once again talking about how nice the spread was in House Nymaryen lands. So just like after a tourney, you get some influence, you get a little bit of influence for this. In Dannett lands.
That is 14 on the dice, plus 2, plus another 2 from Luke, is that right?
Yes.
Cool, so that is 18, which is a blessing, finally.
Alright.
That was really stressful.
So, even though I get drunk all the time, I only get drunk about half the time. I spend a lot of it actually helping people out and listen to their issues in Dannett Lands.
So do you want a D3 or do you want 2 plus 1s?
I'll take the D. Oh, will I though? I'll take the 2 plus 1s. That seems safer.
All right. For the record,
Wait, mind
without
oh no, yeah, you're right. Anyway, sorry.
for the record, without Luke's plus 2, that would have been a curse. By the way,
Yes,
16 would have landed a curse month.
Yeah, that's the thing. I kind of want to ask quickly. Like, I've got 30 XP sitting unspent, and I'm feeling like my 3 plus a bonus in stewardship keeps landing me in that 16 to 19 bracket, which has got a bunch of nasty shit in it. So I keep rolling just to. I'm wondering would it be too late to add to that so that I might get some slightly better rolls?
You can spend XP in any way that makes sense. It's
Okay.
not gonna retcon the last several months, but
Oh no,
Yeah.
no! I wasn't proposing that at any point.
Yeah.
I was just asking going
But-
forward.
but yeah, you can
Right,
absolutely do so.
Yeah, so I'll take the 2 plus 1s.
All right, let's go population and power. As Sir Lucaris is down here assisting with those bandit problems, and both of those are going to be plus 2s instead of plus 1s because of food agriculture, because those are the things that you
Nice.
guys are set up to capitalize on.
Oh, that's
So
even
yes,
better. Thank
plus
you.
two,
Thank
plus
you
2
so much.
pop, plus 2 power.
So I'll ask you where all those new people came from.
You've been busy.
Mm,
I have not in this case, but I don't like how guilty I look.
Thank you for your help. I really do genuinely appreciate it.
Yeah, hey, let me hang out for another month, or you got this?
I mean, you're very welcome to stay, but you don't have to if you have somewhere else you want to be.
I'll stay a little while longer. It's lots of places I can practice my spearmanship. So,
Yeah, sure.
which also sounds not like what I wanted to sound.
Yeah, I was going to be are you okay?
I'm great.
Okay, that's good.
All right, month 7 for House Will.
speaking of practicing spearmanship,
Mm.
me and hubby have been having a good time, and
This is also why I didn't visit. Like, hey, newlyweds, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, guys?
oh, Luke, great.
And
Nice
the
to
good
see
news is I
you.
can stay as long as I want.
Yes. I ended up with a roll of 21.
All right, that is growth plus 1. Let's go law. Like, you guys' honeymoon is bandit hunting.
That's-
let's be real.
That's fitting.
Baylor's just like I always dreamed of since I was little.
Oh, my.
I've got a dashing, valiant knight, and we're hunting bandits in the mountains. Like, she's crying the whole time. I'm just so happy. Like,
Yeah.
and then we are coming up on our 8th month of House Fortune, but first we have our actions for month 7. Does anybody want to do any resource reallocation?
Not me, thanks.
I don't think it makes sense.
I'm good.
Great. Like I said, you don't have to. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure everyone's getting the opportunity.
Yeah.
All right, then, let's roll for month 8, which is the final month that we will be rolling. Maybe the next to final. We'll see how this month goes. You guys are leaving in the 9th month, so we'll decide. Maybe you'll do the House Fortune before you go. We'll see how things go this time. So, everybody.
22 today because 22.
All right, that's plus 1 to something for House Nymaryen.
7 is 20, 21, 22. Yeah.
Let's go population. Plus 1 pop, which will be a plus 2 pop because of the working agriculture. your continued backseat forthseat with House Dannett is proving fruitful for both. Far better than the lean times of Makar's drought. So, +2 population for House Nymaryen. What are we rolling for House Dannett?
Well, I didn't have time to look up XP costs and stuff, so I'm just rolling as I was.
It's
So,
10
so
for
by default,
it's, yeah, it's 10 for a
You
and
broke
then-
up a bit there and I didn't hear you, sorry.
It's 10 for a specialty.
Okay, I'll spend 10 to get the stewardship up to 2, because I can't put my actual status up, unfortunately, until I get more important. So, that gives me a price, which will...
You know, a wife could help with that. Sorry, Grandpa sent me here. It gave me money to say that.
Well, how much did he pay you, Luke? That is the same again. If it's the same boat, does Luke is he still imparting a bonus?
Yes, I thought about making Luke's bonus go down every month, but no, it's good.
As he drinks up the wine.
Yeah, like it provides a +2 the first month, +1 the next, and then a 0, and then he starts to offer penalties. So he's
Yeah.
just like, everyone's like, "Hey, Luke, maybe they need you up at Willlands." And it's
I'm on a
like,
rotation.
yeah, they just send
He's
him
great
around.
for 2 months, and you gotta get rid
Yeah.
of him.
He's a Sir Lucaris of the couch surfing. But yeah, same bonus.
Okay, so well that makes it an 18 again, which is a blessing.
All right, so blessing gives you the option again. I'm getting a feedback on somebody. Someone got open mics.
It looks like it's Ash.
I'm hearing.
I'm literally not touching anything.
Sorry,
Yeah,
what are you
but when he talks,
I'm hearing
box lights
myself
up.
a second later. Yeah, I think
Oh,
it's
probably me.
Ash's. No, it's Ash's something. Anyways, if it's still legible to everybody else, then that's fine.
I mean, I don't because I haven't put up any volume. I'm literally not changed anything.
Yeah,
you don't have to do anything for Discord to get goofy.
Yeah,
sometimes.
it's just bugging. It's bugging me. If it's not bugging everybody else, that's fine.
Yeah, we
My
don't hear
suggestion
it,
would
so
be
go ahead.
manually-
It's all right.
But my suggestion would be manually mute for a second and see if it doesn't knock it out of sync.
Just like mute and turn it back off. But
Oh,
yeah.
right, okay, sure, hang on.
Also, I apologize to everybody. I've only just now reopened Twitch. I just saw that my Twitch was locked up, so I didn't have any of the stream chat scrolling. It was just sitting empty, and I'm like, just occurred to me, man, like nobody's talking. So I just had to refresh my Twitch page. So hi everybody that I have missed. Thank you for and I see that the Iron Throne is halfway, so that means it probably went all the way around at least once. So thank you everybody.
Yeah,
Sorry I
Badnug
missed
was
it.
generous today, and
Badnug very kindly gave me a destiny point.
Awesome. So yeah, sorry I missed that until now, everybody. I just noticed
On me.
I was locked up. So for your blessing, do you want a D3 or do you want 2+1s?
I'll take the 2+1s.
All right. I'm just gonna keep leaning into what you're strong at. Let's go population and power, which is
Okay.
gonna be a +2 each, because that's also like when in doubt. I feel like an agricultural place should be gaining population, like unless something else in particular is going on, and then because your assistance is from a knight that isn't terribly good at non-knightly things, I feel like either power or law is the way to go there. And
Well-
because it's a time of growth, I feel like power. So, yeah, like I think that is what makes sense.
That has made me very happy because now everything is at 20 or above.
Yeah,
Nice,
and that will
nice.
help your
It's a relief.
population is now 21, right?
One.
That
And
pushes
that
it up
gets
to
you a
+1.
+1 on House Fortune rolls.
Oh, cool. Excellent.
That'll help out a little in the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, like with some houses, it just kind of like I feel like that's a safe default for like the things that you're working on, right? So
Mm-hmm.
It's also
Um,
very
hey,
like,
I haven't been updating that freaking worksheet. Has anybody?
You haven't
sorry?
been what?
Haven't been updating the Dannett sheet.
I've been doing it the whole time.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I mean, I assumed because I was in charge of it that I had to be updating it. So
I
it's not-
appreciate that. I
It's just
assumed
like-
the same thing, but all of a sudden it occurred to me that assumation is wrong.
Yeah, no, we're all good. It's fine.
Um,
I've been looking after it. We're fine.
All right. Do we want to? Let's do this. Let's do this.
Is that echoing, by the way?
I'm sorry.
Is it still echoing?
Not that I'm noticing now. So yeah,
Okay.
it looks fine.
Sure. Okay.
We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna roll one more time. We're gonna do month 9.
Okay.
We're gonna do actions first, but I just want to let people know in case it's gonna factor into what you want to do. On month 9, everyone is allowed 1 reroll, but you have to use the if you reroll, you've got to use the second. Okay, but we're gonna say, because I meant to do this for month 7 for the 7, but instead we'll stop at 9 months because it has been a year of fruition and growth. So we'll just go with like the pregnancy number instead. But I meant to do that on month 7 as a blessing from the mother and the father and stuff, and I just forgot. So we'll do it month 9 instead. All right, now Erica, what do we got?
We didn't do my house fortune roll for month 8.
Oh, okay. What was? Yeah, sorry. What's your month?
15.
All right, give me 1 second as I go find the chart again. Growth. So +1 on will. Let's go +1 population. Like that needs to start rebuilding a little bit. It's being at 11 puts you dangerously on the edge of some bad stuff. So let's just pad population a smidge, and that'll help some.
I show 16 for population, not 11.
Really? Okay. Well, go ahead and take the +1 because I already decided. But okay, I might have missed something somewhere. I don't at all surprised myself by
You
that.
might have. I don't know.
It's fine. Everything is fine. So,
Oh, well.
knowing that you've got 1 more month coming with a potential reroll, does anybody want to shuffle some stuff around?
No, I don't think there's anything that I could do that would make a difference because everything's either 20 or 21, so it's like it's as good as it's going to get at the moment.
Good.
Anybody else?
No, it's a little bit too far away on population to bump it up for me. So.
All right then. Month 9. Let's go ahead and roll.
That is.
So is Lucaris hanging out in House Dannett again? And then
it seems like it's been fruitful, so I'll spend my last month here before moving
So,
on
yeah, then
to do our
you
other
and-
stuff.
So then the Nymaryen boys will come riding up to Wyvern's Rest together to get more of their things and start the trip up to the Riverlands. So yeah, we'll say that's so keep that bonus from him, Ash.
That unfortunately puts it at another curse.
Thanks, Luke. All right, so
We warned you about 3 months.
You do get the option to re-roll.
It would,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. Like, yeah. If Luke had fucked up,
Oh.
it would have been a blessing. So.
and actually, before you pick up the dice and do the reroll, did you remember your second bonus die from increasing stewardship? Like, did you roll that extra one?
No, I don't. I think I rolled 4 again. So.
Okay, go ahead and roll an extra die and then take a look and see what it would be
Right.
from the bonus die shuffle.
Oh, but, right. It's. Yeah. I still have to keep 3, so it's not higher than the 3. Sorry, it's not. I rolled like this. I've got 3 6s, so because I have to drop the lowest, rolling a 5 doesn't matter. So I am still. It is still a curse.
Just like I said, I
you have to
figured
take the reroll, whatever it is. So reroll a 6.
So,
I mean, I
well-
guess how.
Wait.
Well, not with the bonus.
Okay,
dice,
hold on.
but
Yeah,
with-
Robert, wait a sec. That wasn't a reroll. That was just fixing his last roll and adding the
Yeah.
bonus die.
Yeah, I know. I
So-
guess I'm stepping to the next step. So,
Okay.
Is it re-rolling one dice, or is it
It's
a whole new
Rerolling the whole thing.
whole thing?
So
Yeah,
rerolling
reroll.
full thing and all the modifiers.
Okay, I've got the right dice now, so let's try that again. Okay. So
I thought your bonus was a plus
12 on the dice, plus
4.
5, 17.
5.
decline.
Okay.
Can't catch a break. If you had left, things would have been fine.
wow. Well then.
Fine then, I'm out of here. Going to the Riverlands. See ya. Decline, I believe, is a
I'll go
-1.
hang out with my bro Van and get the fuck out of here.
It doesn't mean I want you here, just mechanically I don't want you here for the... But
Like, just
so.
Stop helping. Let's call it population, and it's no loss because of the granary. Because you've gotten pretty good at handling that. And because population's what changed last time, we'll say it's what would have changed this time, but no mod.
Okay.
So, all right, that's... Dannett decline. Did we do... Nymaryen was a growth? Did we just do Dannett first on accident?
I think we did Dannett first.
I think we did. Okay, so Felicia, roll for House Nymaryen for month 9. Yeah, I think we were talking about Dannett, and then we just did Dannett first to do it out of order.
Four.
I'm sorry?
24.
Okay, I only
Yeah.
heard the 4,
Me
and I was
too,
like,
Mike.
"What the fuck did you do?" Like, what,
Not even
what-
possible.
All right, that's another growth
15
uh,
plus 9, yeah.
for House Nymaryen.
4.
Let's go. Let's go wealth. Just when in doubt, you guys have a good month with trade and stuff. So there we go.
Okay.
So +1 wealth. All right, and then traveling north to visit House Will.
Nope.
What do you mean, nope?
House Will still needs to resolve House Fortune.
Well, yeah, no, that's what I meant. Like you're doing your
We're
House Fortune
shifting
roll.
our focus to...
Oh, I thought you were
Yeah.
saying, and now we travel.
Well, no, just
I
like.
totally took it that way too, to be honest.
All right, my bad. So, going to House Will for the House Fortune for month 9. What do we land on?
I have an 18 for a blessing.
All right, a blessing. Let's go. Do you want the D3 or do you want 2 + 1s?
Let's do 2 + 1s. Just that guaranteed 2 points instead of the maybe 1,
Yeah.
maybe 3. Just consistency, small gains.
Let's go law and wealth.
Okay.
So you're
bad.
continuing your bandit culling, and the fruitful trade with the Stormlands, which are now really pretty open up for you guys, especially, you've married a Stormlander Lord, and you're the northernmost thing. So yeah, you're able to, the merchants of Will are able to get some of the prime deals for caravans going south, and you're also kind of the last stop for Dornish trade goods for the caravans going north. So yeah, you're able to, continue to benefit from that.
And the Hound's probably seeing good
Yeah, that also. Yeah,
inroads into the
the-
Stormlands.
I'm just
so
imagining Bela's gone completely power mad, and like she walks to the market of the Will area, and people are like terrified. How much for that apple? Silver stag. Sounds like banditry to me. Take them.
Well, I mean, like an entire silver stag for one apple is
But
extreme.
she wasn't wrong. She wasn't wrong.
She
Like-
just responded poorly. Like this. Any house actions for month 9?
I think I'm good. Despite the setbacks, House Dannett is slightly better off than when I found it, so I'm not gonna mess with it right now.
All right then.
That's-
Let's go ahead and take our break. And when we come back, we will kick off a bit of a road trip section as the wedding arc continues, and you guys start to travel north and make your way to the Riverlands. So
Road
we'll be
trip.
back after this break, everybody.
So we'll get up here.
2.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. As Felicia does her best to guiltily eat a mouthful of sandwich and try to look like she isn't. I have to call attention to it because she's my wife, and as such, my property. And so it is my place to be proud or ashamed in turn.
The thoughts and opinions of Rusty do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of the rest of the crew.
And,
Wow.
and I know she won't come punch me live on the internet. Ha-ha, I can say whatever I want. So we are back from our break. We have done a busy 9 months of kingdom management, which is a big chunk of this game.
I think we've almost averaged real time now.
Yeah, like that caught us up. I think we're about right. So now the young scions of House Nymaryen are on the road. The Nymaryen brothers come north to Wyvern's Rest and gather some more of their things, including their sister Rhaena, and then everybody takes off. Sir Balin Swan is going to stay behind in Will Lands and look over things while you are away.
He's a good lad.
And Maester Ferris is doing the same down in Dannett Lands after spending a lot of late nights helping out and going over books and blah, 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 blah. He feels comfortable that things will not decline in your absence. He's like, I'll be sorry to miss it, but somebody needs to look after things. And then off we go. So it's a fairly compact group. It's not as small a group as that first venture north to King's Landing, where it was just you lot and Oris, a bunch of bright-eyed, innocent children. This time, you guys actually have a retinue of about a dozen House Nymaryen men-at-arms, mixed archers and spearmen, say a half dozen of each. Just polite traveling retinue. The Lady Gwyneth of Ironwood Keep was overjoyed at the opportunity to see more of the realm. She has never been as far north as House Nymaryen before, right? And then up to Will, and so every now and then, almost every time you guys stop, she's just like, never been this far north before, right? And just a little kid who's just enjoying it. She's, every place she goes is new territory, so she's, having a good time, seeing the kingdom, traveling in the company of knights and ladies, and yeah, you get the feeling that she may have been the unhealthy type of sheltered back at home in Ironwood Lands. So she's, like I said, she's warmed to you lot pretty well, and she's generally seems to be enjoying this trip.
Good thing we'll be going to House Frey, which is totally different from an unhealthy environment.
Yeah. Traveling with little Robert Frey, the grandson that the Lord of the Twins just gave away as a joke. It's like, you take him.
Well, he threw him away as trash and we picked him up as treasure, so there.
Yeah.
Right. He is
So, and Robert, for his part, is seeing to the Lady Alisane's needs, but then often hanging out with the half dozen archers that you guys brought along, because all of your various, bowmen have been tutoring him and stuff like that. So he's hanging out with them a little bit and having a good time. And he looks like more than a year older, right, from when you initially met him, which has been a little over a year. Like, he's definitely in those growth spurt ages, and is got a fancy quiver on his hip now, and stuff like that. So he's having a good time.
I'm so pleased to get the use out of it.
Yeah, and so yeah, you'll be. It's a great grandchild, not a grandchild. I misspoke. but you'll be returning him to Freylands for a no doubt perfectly fine and peaceful wedding, because weddings in Freylands, what could go wrong? They're proud and
Named one time it ever went bad. Also, no spoilers allowed.
yeah, that's the trick.
Well, nothing yet.
Yeah, so everything should be fine. You spend some time lingering in the Stormlands, making. You're a bit of a hot commodity, right? House Nymaryen has been on the rise in this last year or so, and you've especially just recently tied yourself to the Stormlands and also hosted a lot of these lords as guests in your home. So you're not making the most efficient way north, right? You're stopping because with some of your influence ups and influence drops, you've also started to get a few more like obligations. So you're swinging by and hanging out and visiting a lot more of these lords than last time, where you were just kind of under the radar, and you stopped and ran into some bandits in the woods, and this time it's a proper retinue. You're not just 4 or 5 fairly young people and a shoddy wagon. You are clearly someone's, right? So you are veering this way and veering that way. You spend about half a day's travel to go visit Dondarrion to the west, and then you have to just go due east instead of making any northern progress to cut back over and stay with House Swan. Your new father-in-law that I haven't named yet because I don't think he's got a name. Anyways, we're not worried about it. And then north to Morrigan, and then north to Connington. You're not making the speed that you could every day because you're stopping at these keeps and castles and being guested by these folk. Ash.
He's called Lord Julian, Giul.
Okay.
Lord Julian Swan.
Well, I have not made up a personality for him yet, so.
Oh right, okay. I thought you meant name.
Well, yeah, it's fine.
Buddy, Lord Julian for G is the guy who named the gift. GIF.
You do also stay at Storm's End. Renly is not there. He is in Highgarden for a tournament. But it was made quite clear to you by Red Ron at Connington that Renly insisted that you will enjoy the hospitality of Storm's End in his absence. You do meet the known bastard of Robert Baratheon. Edric
Oh no! Cover Ash's eyes. Cover Adam's eyes. Sorry.
He's gonna.
He's not automatically going to be gorgeous. Just saying.
He is faintly, familiar to you lot. He's fairly good looking. He's a big boned lad for his age of 13-ish, you would guess. But he's got that black hair. He's got those blue eyes. Doesn't look terribly different than Oris. That last time you guys saw him several years ago. So you're like, yeah, no, that's definitely Robert's bastard. And young Edric Storm is a pretty, I don't want to say gentle, but like he is a good-natured lad, right?
It occurs to me how futile now hiding Oris's identity was.
But he kind of plays host to you. But of course, the Castellan of Storm's End is Sir Courtney Penrose. That is very generous to you, and seems to be quite welcoming when you arrive. And for this one, it's over the course of the evening and the meal. Um, he is very warm and friendly with you lot. Um, and he's older, definitely veteran of Robert's Rebellion age, not yours. You'd say early 50s or so. Absolutely spear bald. He's got a red beard, but like just the beard. That's fairly. It is a big beard, but well manicured and taken care of and stuff, right? It's not a bushy, careless Robert Baratheon beard. It's a I work with Redley beard, so it's combed and oiled and nothing like fancy. Um, but yeah,
But
it,
I'll make sure that they greet him politely and thank him for hosting us and all that.
so um, in the course of your meal that night, um, you have a pleasant conversation with him. He knows Brienne of Tarth, and he was eager to hear more about the tourney because she had visited his home of Evenfall Hall back before he came here. And then he saw her again years later when she and her Lord Father visited Storm's End. And then, of course, she's passed through on occasion. And he has a bit of a knowing look in his eye when he talks about but she's off at that tourney headed towards Highgarden along with Lord Renly. And then he gets a little, I don't want to say sad, but a little wistful for a few moments. And then the conversation goes to Bela's wedding. And, what are these hounds everyone's talking about? Lord Renly insisted I interrogate you and see what it would take to get a litter up here after you're done with all these weddings and such. And, lighter conversation. But then, later that night, Edric Storm is in bed, and Robert Frey is taken off, and even Alysain Mormont is off dozing already because she's been wildly overeating with this good solid southern food, not that Dornish fare, right? And she's just like, ooh, I love it. Yeah, it's just
I bet there's not a dragon pepper to be found.
that is correct. There is not. But so she's off having a post-dinner nap, and you guys are kind of in the mulled wine, looking thoughtfully at the fire in the hearth stage of the evening, right? And then he speaks up, and just mentions on the topic of weddings. I knew your uncle, Lucaris.
Oh.
I see.
Before he sipped of the strong cider, yes? And he raises an eyebrow.
Yeah, Adam knows exactly what that means.
So he was a good man. You're the spitting image of him, Luke.
Thank you. I never knew him, but I'll take that as a compliment.
We separated over the course of the rebellion, as needs must. Duty came before other concerns. I don't begrudge Sir Derek. From what I've heard, he's been a good man and true, and loyal to your house after Luke's passing.
Yes, he brought him back to Wyvern's Rest.
He did. He did. Though for a moment, as you arrived at the gates, and he gives Lucaris a nod, I thought perhaps Luke's death had been a jest this whole time, and he simply hadn't aged in 20 years.
But
But
a sad smile, kind of.
But we do not get many Dornish travelers in Storm's End. Even prior to the rebellion, the history between our people was worse rather than better. Some now are working to improve this. And he gives Bela a nod, says, that Balin isn't normally much of a talker, but as Red Ronnet says it, he's scared off every stag on every hunt they've gone on in the last year because he won't shut up about you. And I can see why. So it's, yeah, a pleasant and, kind of wistful, bittersweet type of conversation from an old man that, maybe had some mixed feelings from seeing you lot, or at least some complicated, right? Mixed makes it feel like good and bad, but this is more just complicated feelings, right? So
As a frequent haver of complicated feelings, Adam can relate.
This is Sir Penrose, right?
yes, Sir Courtney Penrose.
Oh, well, Sir Penrose. I can imagine this is the easiest of times, but it is nice to know there are kind people everywhere we go. Thank you.
He gives a bit of a joking snort over his brandy, and he goes, "Well, the times are easier when Lord Renly's away. He spends money like his brother, so it's a bit easier going to take care of this place when he is off on one of his tournament rides." But yes,
my own brother was expressing a similar sentiment when I was visiting the castle he's been castelling.
Stewarding.
In less words, but
my position at Bittergrove is somewhat less permanent than a castellan's would be. I'm pleased to say that despite some challenges, Bittergrove is better off now than it was 9 months ago. So I'm clearly not doing terribly.
good for you, lad. It's harder work than we give them credit for, I think. And I don't know how any of these houses without maesters manage it.
I don't either. Even with Bittergrove having a maester, there was a lot of damage that needed undone before we could make any progress.
Some of it done by Nymaryans, as I recall hearing.
Yes.
There were all manner of petitions to King Robert when all of that was first being dealt with. He answered more of them than not, which is why Dannett was only recently returned to the fold. Renly, of course, was far too young to care about such things then, but many of those letters passed through my hands. I'm glad that you and Dannett have managed to reconcile.
Well, I mean, it wasn't my quarrel, so I'm much more concerned with restoring and maintaining and making things good. I'm significantly less. Let's say, like, I do not share the. I'm sorry, I, the player, I'm having trouble wording things.
It's alright, it happens.
Yeah, just because basically gonna go like, yeah, I'm not as much of a dick as Grandpa as the subtext, basically.
we are all
Got it.
we are all living in a world full of the echoes of our ancestors that we had no choice in. But try to do right, I suppose. One day when the wine runs much, much deeper, you'll have to tell me more about our uncle. I would like to know.
I would like to know more about him too.
Yeah.
We haven't been told very much about any of our deceased family.
He and I squired together. Out of character. 1 second. I didn't think of a good neutral house to have ready. I had ready the backstory of squiring together. But that was it. So he will.
But tell me, with whom did you squire?
He will name a Crownlands house. That I will look for one later that's wealthy and prominent enough that it would be an honor, because a Crownlands house is directly sworn fealty to the Targaryens. It's kind of an honor to squire with them. So what I had in mind was a pair of brothers that both had squires, so they were functionally both squiring for both of the brothers. So some Crownlander house, sworn to the Targaryens. But yeah, so we squired together, met when we were, I was 12, he was 11, I think. But not long after we earned our spurs came the whole mess. We rode in the tourney at Harrenhall. Neither of us did well enough to make it into the history books, but we were there. I earned my share of bruises and scars in the grand melee, but none of us knew how small that grand melee would be compared to what was to come those next few years. And then he's staring into the fire again a bit, right? In that veteran way.
It despite how things went, it at least heartens me to know that our uncle was loved.
He wells up a bit at that. It was not a word that he had used yet, and you think it probably would have hurt him to do so. But he just gives you a bit of a nod and turns shining eyes back to the fire of the hearth. So yeah.
I will have another drink, and then I think I will retire for the evening. Thank you, though.
Similar, conversations can dwindle after that point. But there were a few high points I wanted him to get out. And partially out of character note for viewers, this is just because I really like Lord Courtney Penrose. And I can't say exactly why from the books without spoiling things, and I try not to spoil things. But what little we get to see of him in the book, he's pretty badass. And I just wanted to have another tale of lovers torn apart by Robert's Rebellion, because it's almost World War I-ish in that it fucked up a generation of people, right? In the same way, we've got your Hemingway and stuff about this generation that got scarred by World War I, partially because it was a civil war. It's a big turning point in the history of Westeros. So I wanted to toss in another kind of sad relationship where duty tore people from the booty.
Wow.
We're always saying duty before booty, but I say duty before duty.
Listen, I've got a cap of how long I can be serious, and I hit it, so that had to come out. I
think like Adam finds this like quite heartening. Similarly with like when Derek Fossaway spoke to us about that he's kind of going, oh, like, because for him, like, even though it's sad, there is still a gives him some hope that maybe someone will like care about him as much. So it's like he's not like, because he worries that like nobody's gonna want him. So like kind of going, oh, like who I am isn't necessarily going to be a problem. It's a nice thing for him, even if
it looks kind of like a hopeless romantic. So
yeah, like Adam is a very hopeless romantic, like capital H, hopeless. But
so yeah, it's a pleasant visit at Storm's End. Certainly much nicer than any other Dornish folk have had in a long time. Because again, remember the Stormlander Dorne thing goes back way before Robert's Rebellion. But Robert's Rebellion did not make it better, right? So, it's been a pleasant visit there, and then you're able to get a few less notable visits, but you are certainly stopping at castles and keeps more often than roadside taverns or inns and the like, because it's just kind of expected, right? You are on a tour now. You aren't a group of largely unknowns going to a tournament in the capital where you're blend in with the crowd until you do some extraordinary shit, right? But this time you guys have, you've got somehow you have gotten the favor of King Robert. You have got the eye of his brothers. You have just hosted a lot of notables at Attorney after leading an army of troops from the Stormlands and Dorne. So, like, you guys have been, you guys are trending, right? You are notables now. So
I'm
It's
very
us, Joffrey's an ass, and then some conspiracy theory.
Sorry, Felicia, what were you saying?
Sorry, go ahead, Felicia. I apologize.
I'm really happy that this is the result of our adventure and our interactions with people, because that was the goal. There was a goal in mind.
We're seeing the results of our efforts, and we're
Yes.
kind of a big deal.
Yeah, like I
Not
said,
that we're
we're starting to build those relationships and lay the groundwork for future alliances.
And now that I can see nothing that can stop us, let us go to a wedding at Twins.
Right?
Everything's fine as far as we're aware. I mean, like they are known for being a bit shady, but like nothing terrible has happened yet.
He's really just known for kind of being a jerk. The big nickname that he has is the late Lord Frey, in that he was reluctant to join in to Robert's rebellion.
Right.
So he kind of sullenly answered the call of Lord Hoster Tully, and his men showed up too late to put down the rebellion. But that's just he's a stubborn old man, and Lord Hoster is a stubborn old man with kind of a similar reputation of just being an old kind of jerk. So it's not at all like a major dishonor or anything like that.
Yeah, it's one thing to note that how out of character and out of left field the Red Wedding really was, even for such an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean that wasn't
Anything that's just
Lord Walder on his own. That was Walder plus Tywin Lannister
Yeah. Lots of stuff went into that
the
one.
Boltons.
and the Boltons.
There's a whole book on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you lot then are going to make your way north, kind of northwest from Storm's End, back through the Kingswood. This time, no bandit attack. You're not left dragging anyone in chains to King's Landing to send him north to the Wall. You actually don't stay in King's Landing. It's cheaper to stay at some of the inns that are like a day's ride out from King's Landing, and it's less.
We're staying at State Line, not Vegas. Okay?
Yeah.
It's like going to a convention. Like the further away you are from where it's happening, the cheaper it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's no short 3-month King's Landing arc as part of the road trip.
Don't worry, they got a roller coaster at State Line. It's not good, but they got it. It's fine.
And then you make your way north, and you stay the night at Southhorn, the seat of House Hogg, who insist on stuffing you lot up with ham. They're like, it's on our sigil, but we don't pretend to be pigs. We've just got the finest in Westeros. So they like insist on you leaving with a bunch of like salted ham. And they're like, well, you're on your way to a wedding, and one of these is a gift, but you lot keep the rest or eat it on the way. And, so they're just like stuffing you full of food. And then it's time to visit Harrenhall. Because you have a letter waiting at Southhorn from your gregarious and generous hosts from Lord Maester Nymaryen, the Blood Royal and Warden of the Stoneway. And he makes it clear that you are to stay at Harrenhall, not White Walls, on your way north. Arrangements have been made with the Lady Went. She is expecting you, is like the wording of it. So,
oh, no. Listen, we just ride for like another week. We can go to the Crossroads Inn. No one will ever know we weren't here, except for Grandpa. and everybody else.
He fucking knows everything. He's just. I think he might be psychic, or at least.
I
Or,
think he's a skin changer.
It's the,
Do we know for a fact there haven't been any birds in the sky around us?
There's been
possibly.
plenty of birds.
so yeah, and grandfather isn't prescient enough that the letter says like be there Thursday and you get it on a Tuesday. It's just simply as you make your way north from Soutshorn, you will be staying the night at Harrenhall, not White Walls, which again is a little more off the road, from the KINGSROAD, but yeah.
I genuinely want to see Harrenhall though. Actually, I want to see what dragons can do to a castle.
Yeah, I mean, Adam with his interest in historical things is like super interesting.
I can imagine Adam's part like, go to this cool historical site where a lady is waiting to see you.
Yeah, I mean that bit is, I mean, somewhat apprehensive, but of course we come to it. But he's like, I get to fucking see Harrenhall, which I've spent like a month reading a book about, which was fascinating.
And so you make your way to Harrenhall, the seat of House Went. But because it is further off the KINGSROAD, and the ride even picking up the pace a little bit, you get a little after dark. So you've got an almost full moon illuminating the ruins that even as ruins are monumental, and it's eerie. It's all black and gray from the moonlight. It is also a fairly misty area. It's not very far from the God's Eye Lake and all that. Like it's kind of right there on the water, so it is spoopy, right? It is Halloween Castle that you come riding up on.
The walls of Wyvern's Rest.
I mean, there's also like rumors about it being cursed because it's changed hands so many times.
Let me say to the group, the walls of Wyvern's Rest, whatever did this, they wouldn't stand to that.
No, because this is actually I read in my book, The Curse. It's actually Harrenhall is 3 times larger than Winterfell, which is and also like enormous. So yeah, this whatever. Wyvern's Rest, it could probably chomp it up in one bite.
And the distance to Harrenhall from the time you first set eye on Harrenhall is almost deceiving, because you mentally scale it to a castle, right? And then no, like it's bigger. They're all bigger. It is 5 towers that any one of them are monstrously huge and impressive, and their curtain walls are so high that there are a lot of towers that you've seen that you would not see that tower behind these curtain walls, even half ruined as they are. So it's a deceptive thing. It's almost like it's a model of a castle that's out of the scale of the rest of your miniatures, right? Like it's that sort of
the forced perspective here sucks.
Right, it's just a very deceptively huge.
And just for those who are familiar, like huge chunks are just fucking melted away, right?
Yes. Imagine like the most impressive castle you can, and then just fucking ruin it, right? Like you make a castle out of plastic, let's say, like a Warhammer miniature.
There is nothing in the Seven Kingdoms, in our world, in the game, that can do this damage.
Right, that compares to this.
Yeah.
So,
like humans, like no army could do this much damage to it.
Yeah, and also it's the type of the damage, not just the scale.
Yeah, it's basically melted.
It's melted, and then of course, where parts of it melted and the structure failed, then there's the kind of normal damage of like half the tower fell off, right, or whatever. But it's eerie because these are these are rounded edges where things should be square, right? And things like that. So it's just this oddly haunting thing that
I'm trying.
it's still. I think one description for it is like the most impressive corpse you have ever seen.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm trying.
Like
There's
this thing is huge, but ruined, and despite being ruined, it's still one of the most impressive buildings in this world, right? Much less the Seven Kingdoms. So
Bela, Dragonfire did this. I've always known, but to see it,
Yeah. Nothing like
I-
it's like it was wax, right? Like it's the
Right,
only
I
thing
don't
I've seen
melt.
melt, but it's
Stone.
stone.
Think how hot the fire would have to be to melt
I didn't-
stone.
I didn't even know that stone could melt. I mean, it's a rock. Like rocks don't melt.
Melt?
You
Right?
build fireplaces out of rocks. You build
I think
like the blacksmith shops. Their fires are made, like the fireplaces are made from stone, right? Like and it doesn't.
I
melt.
understand for the first time why Aegon's enemies bent the knee so quickly, for the most part.
and this specifically was the work of Balerion, Aegon's own great
Right.
dragon, and perhaps the greatest dragon.
Any dragon did this.
Yeah, in the
One.
Discord, like 3 of the concept art pictures for it, and because I can't paste links still into the chat, so
In the Twitch.
if you want to share them, like go ahead, because the pictures are just really, the illustrations of it are really
I
impressive.
just sent a link in the Twitch chat to that middle picture you posted. I thought it was really cool too.
So you're making your way up closer. It was black stone before it got scorched and melted, but you can still tell the parts that are like the texture is off from where the fire was close to it, right? And it's just layers of black that remind you of the layers of tragedies that have befallen Harrenhall. As you get closer, the 5 towers are completely out of sight from these walls that are the height of mountains themselves. And you can't help but remember why this had to happen. As you get close, you're like, how else would or could you take this place? And you guys are riding up to the eastern gate, which you know isn't the main gate. Like you are aware of the fact that this is not the main gate, and it is still, if you look up on your way in, the walls are literally dizzyingly high. So this not main gate is grander than any gate you have ridden through in your life. And it is, you see a half dozen murder holes. And you remember as you're riding through them that those murder holes are crewed by about 4 men each. And there's room next to each murder hole for 2 cauldrons of things. And like this minor gate is huge. And it's also, as you enter the courtyard, you realize how empty everything feels. And you realize what a tremendous army of small folk and knights and soldiers and peasants it would take to not make this place feel empty. And instead, waiting for you in the courtyard, which is itself absurd, right? It's I think about 3 times the other largest courtyard in Westeros, right? Like it's villages, like not just like a little thorp or a hamlet, like a proper village could fit inside here. and it all looks that much larger, and she looks that much smaller. As the lady went, Shella, an old lady that is stooped with age, the way her towers are stooped and twisted from dragon's fire and neglect. She waits for you
I'm going
outside
to.
one of the halls, and it's, again, the distance is, everything here is just a little disconcerting and feels just a little off.
I'm going to ride up to her on the horse and get off and greet her politely. Lady Went.
She gives what passes for a curtsy of a woman of her age, and she lets out a bit of perhaps an embarrassed sigh as you are greeted by her and one servant that has a small plate of bread and salt. No squires come to fetch your horses. There's no honor guard. Even it's a big empty castle. So she looks a little embarrassed by not being able to more properly greet people. You can tell that she's been resigned to this embarrassment for a long time.
Bread and salt. Thank you, my lady. I will take it from it and eat the token amount that is appropriate. If there's any concern on my face about the paltry greeting, I don't show it.
So,
My lady White, thank you so much for the welcome. We are pleased to be here.
and she will, as each of you takes the bread, part of the greeting is to kind of formally recognize each person. And she's like, you must be Sir Luke Harris, the scourge of King's Landing.
As some would say, but I am, yes.
And she sizes up the twins. One of you is Dragon and one of you is Dornish. I believe that makes you Reyna. And another, and you can tell the curtsy's hurt, right? Like it's old bones. But she goes, the Lady Reyna, heir to the Blood Royal. You honor Harrenhall with your visit. And you then must be, what is it they call you? The Sandy Spear, I think. It's Sand Spear. She's pretty heckin' close. And she goes, yes. Showing them that women can murder folk just as good as men. Fine. Here's your bread. Stay your spear. And she lets out
and with all sort of
dusty,
weaponry too.
Yeah, she lets out kind of a dusty chuckle as she pretends to terrifiedly, to shrink away as you reach for it. And then she kind of stops and does the kind of noble lady stance of hands in front of her. She goes, and I suppose that leaves Adam. And she just stands and kind of waits.
Yeah.
And she goes,
I'm not going to be rude. Lucaris may have got the jump on me, but I had every intention of being extremely polite as well.
And part of that was I kind of mentioned Luke has been on his horse as kind of an outsider during part of this. It wasn't like, fuck you, Adam, I'm getting the old lady.
It's fine. Adam will take her hand and bow low over it and kiss it. It's going to be very formal. My lady, it's a pleasure to meet you in person finally.
And you see a bit of a flush on her pale cheeks. And she said, we haven't seen hair this silver in quite some time, but I'm certain that this visit will go better than the last.
Well, I certainly hope so too. I almost said, I was like, well, I mean, I didn't bring a dragon, so you're fine. But I was like, no.
Hey, let's say dragon.
This was Rhaegar that she was referring to, which.
Oh, right, okay.
Also didn't end super well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
There's just a lot of bad shit at Harrenhall that I guess need to specify more.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, everything went badly. No, you have to narrow it down. Sorry.
It's happened here, so we gotta be
everything.
specific.
Little Robert will see to your horses for you, and
Oh,
then the next time you
thank you,
see him, he's like, the stables. I swear you could fit 1,000 horse in that thing. I put them all together though, so they could keep one another company.
Oh,
So like,
It's a good
all
idea.
the horses are like on one end, but he's like, it's huge. And he's just like, everything here is so huge. And his eyes are like saucers, just like every place that you guys are looking, right? He's
I want to joke with
clearly,
them, say that word has it this place was built for giants from the north. They would stay here sometime.
Adam's like,
He gives-
I have a deep need to correct this.
he gives Lady Alyssane a somewhat suspicious and somewhat reproachful look, because if something cool happened from the north, he's like, why didn't you tell me about it yet? Because she, of course, talks about the north all the time.
It's
So
a
he kind of looks at her, but she looks like she's along with it. And she's like, oh, hi. Some of them were brought south in chains and forced to labor because no one else but Mormonts could have moved the stone.
And actually, it was just built by a very ambitious and arguably foolish king who just wanted to have the most impressive castle in the realm.
Well, he succeeded on that part.
Yes, King Harold Hoare, I think was. That's me, the player, not being able to remember. Hang on. Harrenhall. Yeah.
It's Heron the Black. Was
Heron
his
the-
other nickname.
Indeed.
But yeah. So you lot are shown inside, and again, just fucking everything it's impressive. But, right? Like that's every single thing you see is impressive, but it's huge, but again, you can't help but notice, and she recovers her cane on the way back in. She meets you lot at the bottom of like the stairs, without it, standing on her own 2 feet, but she needs her cane for help up the stairs into the entrance hall. But you hear that tech of, like the steel cap on the bottom of it, and it just echoes in this entrance hall that's the size of a lot of great halls, right? And it's just so empty. There are no like men here at all, much less a knight that would have pages and squires and sons running around, right? You see her, and you see in the course of this day, like 2 other servants that are in their 50s, and 1 servant that's mid-30s that's clearly the daughter of like one of the other servants, and like that's about it. Like there's like a half dozen people. They're all women. They're mostly old. And the lack of children is something that after a while gets increasingly disconcerting and reminds you that it's a doomed house. She is the last of the Wentz. And it fits Harrenhall, where it's, Harrenhall is daunting and doomed and clearly on a decline. And that combination, like, you can see why people think the place is haunted. Because even if there aren't literal ghosts prowling and searching the unwary, for the unwary, the place is just full of loss. As high as these castle walls are, the place is filled up with loss. But despite all that, she does what she can to play a good host. You have dinner waiting for you. It's cold by this point, because again, it was a bit of a longer ride, and apparently they weren't sure, so they wanted to have dinner ready. Looks like you're left with the impression from the way that like the servants are also like very excited as they're serving you. It was a big deal for them to get to cook food for people, right? And like you get the feeling this has probably been ready since like midday because they wanted it to be ready if the guests got here early, right? And that sort of thing. And it is not a feast in the Red Keep. It is not a feast in Lady Bessa's kitchens in Wyvern's Rest, but it is a feast. They are not lacking for wealth at all. Everything is very fine. The plates are of a quality that you had in the Red Keep, right? These aren't like wooden bowls burnt into hollows and whatever. This is all very fine stuff that it is served on, and you can tell that they polished the shit out of this stuff to get it ready. Because otherwise, though, you know that they would all have like a patina of age on them, right? All of these, the goblets and the trays and everything. But it's clearly a wealthy castle with wealthy land. Um, but, right? But, again. And this is the Hall of 100 Hearths, which actually only has a few more than 30. It's got not quite 3 dozen.
Still a lot.
But
Only.
yes, it's still you could have very easily and comfortably combined the tourney at King's Landing and Adam's Name Day tourney and feasted everyone here with plenty of room for dancing and bands and maybe some fucking Elliot to ride by on her horse, and nothing would feel crowded. And like it's huge, and it's feeding a dozen people. A couple of the servants that initially brought you things then scurry off, and your men are off in the barracks hall, which is also going to be absurdly empty. You hear from your men later that there are 2 men-at-arms in the keep, and he's saying that the younger one still has a few of his hairs, and it looks like it's just like they're married to these servants, and that's the only reason they're still here, and they insist on saying that they're still serving. So they're wearing armor that's really out of date, like it's so you hear about that from your men at arms, but it's you lot and Alisane and Lady Gwyneth, who is absolutely doted on by Shella, and all the servants as well. They get as warm as they can with her without being overly familiar. And it kind of makes you wonder how long it's been since they saw a child here. And again, it hits home, as she is like, ooh, sweet rolls towards the end. And like they bring her own fucking tray of them, right? And whatever, you're just like, how long has it been since they heard a happy child in this huge hall that could seat 1,000 people? How long has it been since a happy child clapped their hands in this place? So everything is fine, but and that's basically the summary of it. So
I'm going to find Bela at one point in this massive hall, and when there aren't other people around. So Bela, this kind of raises a question. You and Balin, are you a child yet?
No. We take precautions.
it's like seeing this barren, burnt out husk of a castle reminded me of your womb. How are things, sister? What the fuck, Luke?
Okay.
Like,
We
what are you? Speaking of,
we knew about all this travel coming up, and it was not time for such things.
Okay.
like,
That's fine.
what kind of intro? Like, I want to know.
Well, what I've been thinking about is there's all this wealth here, all this history. Is there no one who's sort of wanted to step up to come in? Maybe take over is too harsh of a word, like capture. Not quite that, but surely the king or someone is concerned about this place falling into hands of someone with the money to sort of fix it up as a holdout, because I mean dragons might have caused the damage, but there's none around anymore, and this place could be defended against.
Yeah. Our brother is a scholar, but from what I know, everybody who's held this place has seen disaster and decay, and
Maybe so, but I mean, I'm at some point I could see this place being used again for purposes of war.
And as a brief out of character history lesson, that is what it was made for. Harren the Black, who built it, was an Ironborn, and he sailed and fought this far inland, and then built this place in kind of the middle of the Seven Kingdoms. Like, it's not quite the exact center, but it's kind of close to it. And it was just like, this is mine. And like, it took Aegon to change that, right? It took a dragon to go, nah. But it was worked on for a long time, and it was specifically so that the Ironborn, this was them laying claim to a big chunk of land. You do know, and Bela kind of always pays attention to this, an army could get here from King's Landing fairly quickly, if they needed to say nothing of help from, Riverrun, because it is a Riverlander holding, but they're close to, the seat of power of the Seven Kingdoms. So an army could get here fairly quickly, if anyone were to try, and that would absolutely be breaking the king's peace, et cetera, et cetera. So it would have to be like somebody would have to think, I'm going to be able to keep this indefinitely, and also fuck my family and everyone I know that's outside these walls. Maybe the Vulture King or somebody like him might want to, somebody without much to lose. And you kind of remember that was his plan with a different ruined castle down in Dorne, right? Like that was kind of what he was out to do. So, but yeah, nobody has tried it with Harrenhal, despite this decline of the last 20 years.
I will ask you this, sister, because you are the tactical mind. If you had an army, you're going to march on a castle. Why would you march on Harrenhal instead of King's Landing?
Perhaps your goal wouldn't be to take King's Landing. Perhaps, well, here, North tends to have an independent streak to it. Perhaps they want to set up a place that says right here, this is the new boundary between the North and the rest of rest of Westeros.
I suppose you have
to come past Harrenhal to get up to us.
I suppose with a strong enough alliance with the true North, such a holding could be valuable.
Well, I mean, the primary problem is it's so big that it's impossible to adequately patrol. So it's actually, I mean, despite its imposing size and its strategic advantage, it's actually, unless you've got an enormous army, as in larger than anyone, like the fact that it's 3 times larger than the next largest castle in the realm, so you need at least 3 times as many men as Winterfell has to even come close to defending it. So that's really the main problem. It's not taking the castle, it's holding the castle.
Right. Yes. No, I totally agree.
And as for why King Robert has not interfered with anything. It's kind of because legally he can't. Like, she is still the lady of House Went. There has not been a need yet. There's certainly been an interest, but like, she's paying her taxes, so and Robert also just kind of doesn't have it in him to like force an old lady. He's not going to threaten an old lady until Cersei's an old lady.
Yeah.
Right? But he's not going to
The
be
optics
like,
of that war would look bad. Like,
yes.
get the old lady out because.
Yeah. So it's like she's still the lady of this land. So you don't doubt that it's come up in the small council of like, hey, maybe we should do something. But it just seems like for whatever reason, nobody has.
Right. It's definitely a thing where people most likely have contingencies for the day that may come before too long where there is no legal owner of the land. And what happens then? Who gets it? Whose responsibility is it? Who, all of those things. Something so valuable and that has so much value.
It's in. Let me real quick, Ash, and then you. You are certain that there are would-be claimants waiting in the wings, right? That backtrack a few generations to marriages and stuff, and like, you're sure it's going to be one of those sticky issues where if she does not say and is not married and has not declared an heir, there's probably going to be a dozen people like that are second sons from all over, and it's the sort of thing that does tend to need the king's justice to decide. But you're sure that the master of laws, Renly, will do it by the book and everything will be fine. But yeah, it's one of those cases where like you're sure people are like ready to have old deeds of claim and whatever, unless, right? So it just depends on how it goes.
I mean, if I'm remembering her family tree correctly, like the next best claim is probably Huster Tully.
Could be. Depends on what other. We're not, except for the Targaryens, we don't have many complete family trees, right? So there could be missing branches from a lot of these that's enough for somebody to make a claim, right? So it's just gonna.
There's always the random bastard who goes out the woodwork and stuff.
Yeah. So.
Or
just
I could just like charm her socks off and she could like name me heir.
I think that's Grandpa's idea.
No, that was not his idea. His idea was to get married.
And then for Adam to be the Lord of Harrenhall, so that he would need to declare an heir at some point or whatever, instead of
it's
any declaration.
I do want to back in character, talk just very briefly to Lady Gwyneth and just let her know that we are in no rush. There's no need to get up early if she wishes to stay up late and have the cooks prepare sweets and treats for her. That is fine.
She looks eagerly at the old women, and they look eagerly at one old woman, and then the lady of the kitchens is like, yes, it's been some time since we made tarts, right? And like, they're just, those ladies will cluck off and go decide what breakfast they're going to spoil the lot of you with. And on that topic, the Lady Shella says, it is my hope, young Adam, that perhaps you and I might go for a walk over breakfast.
I would like that very much, my lady.
It's late, and I am weary, but we will speak on the morrow before you all leave.
Of course.
Things kind of wind down, and you are not given lodging super high up or anything like that. Half the towers are not in use. They're just using the bottom couple floors of each one. Sure, got it, Robert. So yeah, it's not unpleasant, right? The stay is not unpleasant. Your rooms are very carefully and clearly have been very carefully prepped for you. And when you're lying there asleep, you think, well, this won't be so bad. Like, it's supposed to be quiet when I sleep. But then you're like, oh, wait, there aren't hundreds of men-at-arms still milling around out there. And, this close to the stables, I feel like I should be hearing a lot more than this, right?
It's that
still,
eerie quiet when the power goes out.
yeah, it's still a little just off, and it kind of makes you realize how loud and how home is, right? So everything is fine. It's just, it's just also a little bit, a little too quiet to be kind of relaxing.
It's making me think of it. It's kind of, in some ways, very similar to Will, but also kind of the opposite. Whereas it was creepy because of the weird noises, and this is creepy because of the absence of noise.
Yeah, I mean, that's not very off, right? It's that same sort of just mildly off-putting,
I can swear at Will, you can hear people in the walls somehow.
The way you were describing it reminded me of sort of the visuals of the Mines of Moria in Lord of the Rings, where it's just massive, enormous, but empty. You can see the remnants of like the shops and the pillars and everything around you, but there's no one. And that's what this is reminding me of.
It's also the same kind of creepiness of like an empty mall, right? Like it's just where you're used to seeing people and they aren't is always a little disconcerting. In a not like a major way, but you know what I mean. It's just like, hey, wait. It's also a feeling you sometimes get like if you visit your alma mater during an off season, right? Like walking around a college campus when people aren't there. It's the same sort of thing. It's just
I bet visiting a theme park in the pandemic would have been like this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like pretty similar. So yeah, that sort of thing. So you are all put up in Kingspire Tower, which is the one that you guys have eaten in as well. And it's the largest of the towers. And it's, like I said, it's fine. Everything is fine, except just being that little bit off. So, the next morning, you lot are absolutely and utterly spoiled for breakfast, because they know that, knights and ladies don't want to eat only these sweets. So you guys also have like eggs and rashers of bacon and big crusty bread and stuff like that. But then there's like 3 different flavors of sweet fruit tarts. And
Lady Glyph, did you actually make it to bed last night?
and she is sitting there. Yes, thank you. I know that we were riding today, and I need my rest for that.
Yeah, I just can't wake up on a beanbag and like snacks everywhere.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys are utterly spoiled over breakfast with all kinds of sweet tarts and like a peach cobbler that somebody made. We're making sweet stuff, and so it's
This is breakfast, but I'm not going to argue. We're all adults now. We can have whatever we want for breakfast.
Right?
Cookies for breakfast?
Yeah, we can if you're adult.
There's an advertisement for a cereal in the U.S. that has that as a like thing they say.
Yeah.
It's dumb. It always comes to my mind.
And Adam, you are awaited at the far end of the Hall of 100 Hearths by the Lady Shella. Who's this? Our walk will be a short one. I don't think either of us wants to go tromping far, and we haven't got a garden worth worrying about, but we'll retire to my solar, yes?
Lead the way, my lady, and he'll offer his arm.
This one's a mobility scooter.
Put her on a Shetland pony or something that just goes around the castle. Listen, my way of drawing in a thing that I forgot to mention way back. That like Adam has dressed nicely for this because well,
Because
yeah,
it's Adam. Like,
yeah.
we-
Well, one
we-
because it's Adam, yeah. But
Like-
he has been sporting a new sigil for.
were you able to share that in Twitch? Did you get
Yeah,
that to work?
I can. I need someone else to do it for me. Because I
Let's
can't.
see.
I don't know why I can't paste stuff in chat. I've never been able to fix it. But yeah,
Yeah.
he has
That should
now got
There you go.
rather and it will be like on his doublet. And it has been for months. Every time you've seen
Yeah,
him. It's rather than the silver Wyvern of House Nymaryen, his Wyvern is now black and has a trident instead of a spear.
And of course, in Westerosi law, you are not allowed to change it back after this, because once you go black,
Oh my
never
gosh.
go back.
Oh my
I've heard
god.
that rumor.
You know what? I was genuinely worried
Right.
there, and then I was going, I don't
Because
think that's really the rules, and oh no, it's the joke.
you're welcome, everybody.
And if you go to chapter 17, I think it is a oh, who was it? Maybe Arya chapter of a sea
Storm
of
Sword.
Storm of Swords. Yeah, it's right there. It's laid out. It's exactly the
I mean,
rule.
is this why we've come across we're now talking about like multiple people who have the by name the Black, like Maku the Black and Harren the Black?
Yeah, because like with most nicknames, you try them out a little bit, but then once you try the black, like you're stuck with it. So that's how it goes. Listen, guys, it's just history. I don't make the rules.
I would
Blackwater
expect,
Frey.
I would expect that to come up from Robert, but not from you. What am I talking about? Of course I would.
Oh,
And
God.
everything I say that's dumb, Rusty was going to say it 40 seconds later. Fact. 100% true.
So you make it into the Solar of Harrenhall. It's the size of the Great Hall in Wyvern's Rest. It is absurd. Like everything else, you're like, yeah, like you could, if Grandpa called us to this Solar, it could mean all of us. Like, by which everyone sworn to House Nymaryen, small folk included, could come in here for an urgent meeting, right? Like, it's silly.
Yeah, so the first thing Adam says when they walk in, like, well, this rather puts my solar in the shade. In a jovial tone so that she knows he's not being serious.
I did hear that you got one for your name day. I imagine yours is more full than this, but propriety is all I have left, and we're supposed to talk this sort of thing out in Solars. Come, have a seat. And there's this huge oaken table. You have no idea how many legs need to be under there to, like, hold up the bottom of it. And she goes, and you'll not sit across from me, or we'll be yelling ourselves hoarse. So she just makes the way over and has a seat next to, like a seat right there next to you.
That is a formidable and impressive desk, my lady.
And you can tell that it was assembled in here, like brought up in parts that then like kind of had to jigsaw piece together.
She didn't have a nice strong bastard boy to lift it all up in one go.
Well,
it's fine. Not everyone has one.
Also, it wouldn't fit up the stairs and through the doorway and stuff. And you're not sure that Oris could lift this one, actually.
Oh, I'll have to tell him that next time.
You don't know.
I saw a desk that you couldn't lift.
Yeah, he'd be, what? Where? I'm going to tourney there right now. Show them stupid desk, and I'll hit a fray with it too.
Unfortunately, the last time there was a tourney at Harrenhall, things went badly.
So she has a seat. You have a seat. And then she goes, I know it's supposed to be the young that are impatient, but you've got a lot more time left than I do, so I'll start.
Of course, my lady. What's on your mind?
I understand that you aren't looking for marriage, and that I shouldn't take it personally. Uh, is that correct?
Well, I definitely don't take it personally. I am aware that I probably cannot avoid marriage forever, but I had thought that I had at least until my 20s to yeah. I will just be frank with you, my lady. It is not to be taken personally. I have no interest in any woman. It's absolutely not a failing on your part. And I wish it were not so sometimes, but I feel it's best if I'm honest with you. But I didn't want to put that in a letter. I'm sure you can understand.
It's fine. If there is one thing that Harrenhall has ever learned, it is that you are not in charge of who you love. I love my ghosts too much to want to wed someone that particularly wants to wed me. And it's understandable.
I don't mean to. I would, however. I was saying, like, yeah, sorry, again, this is me having trouble with words.
It's alright.
So, I do, however, feel deeply for your plight that you've told me of. And I do want to help. I just don't feel that I'm just not prepared to marry just yet to do so. That's why I made the counter proposal, if you will, in my letter, that I steward for you without marriage initially, so that we could see if I'm actually up to the task, with the possibility that if you felt that, well, if we both then, after a time, felt that it was going well, that I would perhaps be amenable to marriage if it meant securing Harrenhall in a way that you wanted. But there is the matter that I don't intend to have heirs, so you would be essentially probably agreeing to place Harrenhall in the hands of one of my nieces or nephews at some point in the future, which is a thing I don't want you to do without knowing that that's what would likely happen. I know that you had said to me that you wanted me to find love and so on, and but I don't want you to have the wrong impression of what that would mean for me and what that would mean for Harrenhall. I hope that you can understand.
I do. I would not have been surprised if it was simply dusty old crones that you didn't favor. But some small part of me is still glad to know that even in my youth, it would not have been my fault if you looked elsewhere. I'll not lie, a bit of flattery goes a long way, but I do understand your concerns and appreciate them.
I mean, I'm definitely. I mean, I'm certainly capable of flattery, even sincere flattery, and if we were to be married, I can assure you I would shower you with it.
Well, I guess once we were married, you wouldn't need to anymore, but it would be sweet of you to still do so.
If anything, a woman who is not interested in bedding me is definitely actually an advantage.
Well, you don't have to worry about that. I'm pretty sure it would kill me.
Well, I certainly don't want that. Then.
It's been long enough. And this hip. No. I don't think I'm betting anyone anymore.
I mean, I also felt that I didn't. The reason why I didn't want to agree to anything until we had met in person was because my notion, especially after seeing Harrenhall now with my own eyes, that I wouldn't want to agree to anything without you knowing what I would do with it. You know, I'm certain that you are very attached to this place, and what I, with my steward hat on, so to speak, what I would consider a good thing to do with Harrenhall might be anathema to you, and I would not want to disrespect you by hauling down things that you want to stay up.
She shrugs and says, "By the time you are making any decisions about this place of that nature, I would be off with my Walter and our boys." And smiling upon the face of the seven, and you can do what you want with a dusty old stack of rocks, um, so long as the family plot out of character. I don't remember if they have a I know the royalty are in like the like the Grand Sept or whatever, but whatever the appropriate term would be.
Harrenhall, well, most of the castles have crypts rather than mausoleums, so they have stuff
Right.
below
So it
ground.
would be like that. Like as long as you don't disturb the crypts, I'll be
Oh,
just fine.
I wouldn't dream of it. That's actually been quite. That's quite reassuring to know, my lady. We don't have a lot of time to discuss it, unfortunately. But that, at least knowing that I wouldn't be horribly dishonouring you if I made alterations to the place, that helps somewhat.
You needn't decide now, and Seven knows your grandfather's still going to have words to say about it. So I'll write him letters as I've been. You speak to him as you've been, she says, not knowing. And just do Harrenhall the favor of not only looking at the ruined old stones of our place, but remember that all the lands you see, out of character, I don't want to establish a precedent for the lands score equaling a certain distance. So we're going to keep it vague and just be like, everything you see for a half day's ride on your way north of here, they're good fields, they're good folk, and all of it's a good deal more fertile than its dusty old lady. So if you decide, don't only decide based on what you see inside these walls. Decide based on what you see outside of them. That does remind me, though, however things should fall out, I would also need my people taken care of. And she gestures, and she means the servants that have been staying here with her for 20 years now. But it's not uncommon for them to get fired. Sometimes, if a lord is taking over out of concern that they're loyal to the old lord, maybe, or but in this case, she's just being mindful.
Of course, I mean, I had rather taken that as going without saying. I would absolutely ensure that everyone was taken care of. They've already taken great care of us. So even if I were not the steward of Harrenhall, I would want them to prosper. But
You need to bring
I don't-
some people up here with you, though, to even try to fill the place. But if you
course.
can, please do so. I want Hoster to die, knowing I'm filling the Riverlands with the Dornish.
I must say that is a. I wasn't expecting my amusement at that to be a selling point, but it definitely is. That I'm heartened by your good humor, my lady. I had many reservations when your letter first was read, well, by my grandfather, and I, as a mere at my rather inexperienced age, I have my own personal fears to contend with, but talking with you has helped allay some of them, and I hope that asking for a little more time won't be.
It's fine with me if it's fine with the Seven. But we will need to get this all done while I'm here. So you think it over. We'll both speak with your grandfather, and we will see what next year holds.
At the very least, I have a wedding to attend, so I should probably get that over with.
You should. You should. And she reaches out and pats your hand. She goes, "Go on then. I'll just sit here for a while, I think."
Are you sure? I'd be happy to keep you company.
No, you have a wedding to get to.
I'm glad we got the chance to talk, my lady. I will write to you again soon.
I look forward to it. Yep, then she gives your hand another warm little pat with a bit of a tut-tut type of vibe, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Adam will give her a very warm smile and be on his way.
All right. With that, the Harrenhall conversations that I had planned are done with. So we'll kick it to you guys if you want to talk about the place, like as you're leaving. And you'll go out the northern gate, which is as impressive as the eastern, and plenty impressive. It's actually the main gate, so it's about double the eastern one. So it's just they're silly. Like it takes this time. They didn't leave them open because they weren't like waiting, but it takes the men-at-arms some time and some help from the Nymaryen contingent to swing one of the doors open, and they don't swing it all the way. It's just enough for you guys to leave, right?
Wow.
And it's just
Kill Archer all day.
yeah. And
the place is designed to be manned by like Mecca and
Well, what is making me think of the Ishtar Gate, because it was enormous. I mean, and very impressive, and you had to kind of like riders would have to go up this very long avenue towards it as well. So you were flanked by like really high walls with archers on top of them.
yeah.
So it was all very like, yeah, you're in a place where you can't fuck around now.
Yeah. The Lady Shella does not come to say farewell to the lot of you. You're pretty sure she's still sitting in her solar. But you are sent off. Robert Frey is carrying two big bundled cloths, walking right behind Gwyneth of Ironwood Keep. And the servants are waving farewell and hoping that she enjoys lunch, etc., etc. And it looks like they have loaded up a couple of kind of big picnic bundle type of things, so that you lot will have plenty to eat on the road today.
Oh, that was very kind.
And Robert, of course, is struggling a bit with it, but he's got to get it in one trip because he's 13.
Yeah, don't make 2 trips. You get all the Berkshire bags at once.
Robert, I will,
Exactly.
like, if you hand one to me, I will help you.
Fine. You've got your hurt leg and all. And he's
You saw me like fight to the last 5 people in a melee. I'm not. It's a crippled leg. I'm not completely paralyzed or anything.
he refuses any offers of help. And he carries it himself to the wagon, where the young lady Gwyneth insists that the bundles be put near her, in the wagon. She's like, they were for me. I will probably share some, but they're mine. So she looks like she and Robert may have already had a discussion about this. And yeah, she was 12 when you guys first met her. She may be 13 by now because it's been a little bit. But yeah, she was starting off at 12. So yeah.
Split the difference.
And with that, you lot are able to take off. Your
Get outta
assortment
here.
of several horses that some of you are riding yourself, versus the wagons, etc., etc., etc.
Excellent.
All right, and sure enough, like Harrenhall is heckin' rich. Like you've all learned a thing or two, whether you wanted to or not, about what good crops look like, that aren't just grapes, right? And you're like, this is a lot, and B, it's just different soil up here. Like this is dark soil.
We probably get
It's
a lot
good
more
and
rainfall
rich,
than-
and yeah, just climate, different type of soil, and it's fields of different grains and barley and stuff that are all really good looking, and you're
Yeah,
like, this is a lot.
Yeah, after that conversation with Lady Shella, Adam's like going to be paying a particular attention to what the land's like.
Yeah, and it's also because you guys are also used to mountains, like just impressively big looking out here, right? It's different type of terrain. I'm not saying like you guys have never seen flat ground.
Think of
but-
it this way. Look at how little rock there is. Where will they get their stone for their
There's
walls?
grass and lightly rolling
Yeah.
hillocks. It's just, yeah.
Don't trust it.
And not all of it is even being used. You get the feeling that, to put it in mechanical terms, if the say the population score does not meet the land score, right? Like it's got room for
Oh, yeah,
more folk.
Because you can have as much population as you have land, basically. Isn't it?
Kind of. It's just that it's big. It's not as empty as, of course, Harrenhall proper, but the lands around it are still, there's room, right? It is territory that could grow. It is territory that should grow, right? There's plenty of room for it. There is, you guys don't see it on this trip, but from reading up on it and all that stuff, you know that there is I want to say it's just called Harrentown, but there is a town here. It's to the south though, between the lake and the castle, because they've got a lot of fishing and stuff like that. So you guys came from the east and are leaving out the north. You would say, but like there's a proper town here, as well. Like it is wealthy. It is a large and wealthy holding, with rich and fertile field, that you guys are leaving in the rear view as you make your way further north. Let's whip out the map. I'm gonna say it's so you leave out the north gate. You think maybe they just wanted to show it off, and then you're able to follow this a river that corrals you back to the east onto the King's Road. your next stay is going to be at House Dairy, where you will be greeted by Sir Raymond Dairy, who is the remaining brother of.
So is he Will's brother?
Yes. So he is Will's brother, and you can spot a familial resemblance. He is Will writ smaller, kind of the way Renly is Robert, but a little smaller. Like, it's that same kind of very family resemblance. But his beard is neat and trimmed. His hair is in a more acceptable northern style, etc., etc. But you can still recognize a broadness of shoulder between him and his sons. You see his son Lyman there, and you're sure that son of his is going to grow into that same shape, right? And fill out a suit of armor just fine, and kick some ass. But it's not a ton to it. They lost a lot of their lands because all those brothers that died fighting for the wrong side in Robert's Rebellion. So,
the losing side, not the wrong side.
Well, the wrong side to get to keep your stuff. We'll put it that way. They're not terribly far from the Ruby Ford. It's Dairy Castle, Plowman's Keep.
How far of a ride? Like, how long of a ride would it take to get there? To Ruby Ford?
From Harrenhall?
Yeah.
Or from Ruby Ford?
To Ruby Ford from wherever we're at.
From Dairy? You're headed that way. Like, it wouldn't be. It's not out of your way to go there if that's what you're checking.
I would kind of like to just visit, just see it.
Yeah, you guys are going there.
Yeah, I mean, me too. Because if I recall correctly, that's the place that Adam saw in his dragon dream, where like the red dragon rose up out of the river.
But yeah, you guys are headed there. It is north of here.
By the way, in the 3 months I stayed at Adam's couch, did you mention any of these dreams?
He's
Or
spoken
is he keeping
about
this shit quiet?
Adam has spoken to Lucaris directly about like this specific dream, and he went, "It's just a dream." Who cares?
Well, I remember that happening way back when. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
have you mentioned it since then?
Adam definitely talked about it to all of his siblings, and said like, "I had this dream that was like really serious, that felt very important."
Yeah, we all went like, "Good for you. Dreams are fun, aren't they, champ? Aren't they, champ?" But like, did you? Did you bring it up later, like when we were like hanging out?
Probably not, unless someone else did, because he basically after that first response, he's like, "Oh, I guess I won't tell him anymore then."
You don't see any reason I'd be like, "Hey, how about that weird dream you had? What's up with that?"
Are you saying is that what Lucaris is doing?
No, like I don't see any reason I would bring it up. I'm going to the Ruby Ford because it is where Rhaegar died and everything. So.
Yeah, and I mean, like, Adam does have a historical interest in it as well, but there's also an added component. So, like, I guess, like,
I was just curious, just like thing you brought up constantly, or if it was just the one time. So
no, he's not been bringing it up constantly.
Okay.
But like when Lucaris sort of like declares he's going to like stop and have a look round, like Adam's going to clearly be very eager to also do so, probably, and that I guess that'll get noticed that he's like very eager to see this more than he would normally be.
So the visit with House Dairy is without incident. They're like Plowman's Keep feels really tiny, like right after Harrenhall and stuff. Like you're just like, no, this is actually like their castle is about the scale of Wyvern's Rest. Like it's a solid, reputable place.
It's like going into a cupboard.
Yeah. So you make your way. And yeah, you are able to head to the Ruby Ford, which some of the maps are a little fuzzy. so we're just gonna go with it. In some maps, it's a little bit off the King's Road on the way north. On others, it's like right there, and just across from the inn at the crossroads. So we're just gonna say that you guys are able to stop at the Ruby Ford just fine after your visit to Derry. It is
I'm
an
going
impressive
to-
river. You know, the Trident is big. You can tell this place is called the Riverlands for a reason. You know, this is as big as the Trident is, but it's fed by several. You're sure that it's going to be very impressive the closer, you know, the more you get spending time around the river. The fort itself doesn't look special, but you know what it is, and you know where it is, so it feels special, even if it's not remarkable looking. It's a thoroughly pleasant spot of river. You know, and that's the
I
thing. But
don't have a good explanation as to why, but I'm going to find a secluded spot and bathe in the river.
Damn it, you had the same idea as me.
We can just go be two naked bros. It's fine. Like all those good roommates in history.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. You're literally my brother, and we don't do that stuff anymore.
Why'd you say anymore?
Well, because I was referring to the
Targaryen sibling
St.
fucking.
George's.
That's what he's referring to.
And I mean, to be fair, Lucaris isn't Adam's type anyway.
Well, you're not my type, so.
Well, great, bro.
You're not mine either.
he says resentfully.
You can't fire me.
I'm just trying to have a character building spiritual moment here in the river and yet make it weird. That's usually my job, so good luck.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, like Adam's gonna be like very particularly trying to find the exact point that he saw, and he's gonna sort of stand around and be like trying to see if he feels anything different. And like he's then gonna like strip down and get in the river and like float about in it and sort of like just sort of think about like that dream, maybe kind of. Yeah, and just sort of like see how he feels, and like try not to drift off down the river or anything.
And Bela, who has extensively studied the Battle of the Trident, because it's a battle, you're able to spot like the only place it could be. You're like, it was two armies meeting in the shallows, so it needs to be an area where the water is shallow enough for two armies. And here we go, and here's this, and like this is that spot of river, and you don't hear any of that, Adam, because as you're just following your siblings towards that spot, your heart starts pounding in your chest, and it does that movie trick of like the tinnitus, where like the sound of everything else fades, right, and you get a little bit of a whine in your ears. And they happen to stop where you wanted to stop, right? Like, so you know this is the place. Bela is making a very educated guess that this is the place, but Adam just feels this, throbbing pulse, and almost gets a little lightheaded, and this is absolutely like you're standing where you were looking down in your dream. You look down, and Luke is already splashing his way into some deeper water, and is taking his shirt off like Luke does. So he's a little bit off to one side, making his way towards a spot where he can bathe. And Bela is off on the other side, talking about the battle, and Alysain Mormont is listening, and little Robert Frey is listening. But then, like, Reyna is right square in the middle, that spot that like the camera withdrew from during your dream.
Yeah.
like in the center of the House Nymaryen group, with Luke off one way and Bela off the other, and you standing a little bit back for the moment, because you got kind of, shell struck by this. Standing square in that spot where you saw the dragon's head emerge, is Reyna, who's kind of idly running her fingers along the top of the water and listening to Bela talk over there and smiling bemusedly at stripping Luke over there.
Like how deep are we talking? Is this like you could wade into it, or
Yeah, that's the whole point. Was it's
yeah,
you would say
yeah?
it
I guess in like
knee deep.
I think what Ash is asking as a European is this a real river or like an America river?
It is,
no, I was meaning like, could Adam go and could he stand there like with just like his breeches rolled up rather than having to take more?
Depend, the height of rivers come and go, but you were all struck by, partially you're like, Rhaegar was probably fighting in waist deep water, while Robert was probably fighting in knee deep water. Those are two very different things. It kind of hits
He
you.
had the high
that you're
ground.
like, right? Like this is, you could definitely see this as a, but yeah, you can at least get into the ford some on foot that way, because the whole point is that the ford is an area where the river gets wide and shallow enough that people can cross it without a bridge. But it's particularly wide in one part where there's room for goddamn armies to meet.
Right.
But yeah, like you're just thinking about it, you're like that does occur to me as I step into this water. Like, nobody talks about Rhaegar being exceptionally large, probably built about like Bela or Luke. And like this would be much worse to fight in for your average Targaryen than for your average Baratheon. Is something that kind of occurs to you guys.
Sure. I mean, like, Adam's just going to be very struck by that image.
And your kind of episode passes fairly quickly. You're not queasy or anything like that. It just hits you, right? That deja vu moment hits hard. And then as the sound comes rushing back in, again, same like movie trick that they do where they like fade the sound and tinnitus and so whine in your ears. As the sound comes back, you hear a dragon roar instead of the normal like swoosh, and then the sound returns to normal in a movie. Like, you hear a dragon roar getting louder and then cutting off, and then it's real time and you hear Bela talking about the battle, and so it's this like escalate and then it cuts off to normal sounds.
Yeah, that's yeah. He's just clearly shook and just sort of stands there for a bit. But I guess he'll kind of like go up and like next to Reyna, and he's kind of fishing around in the riverbed for like a cool rock or something. He wants him a mental, like find an interesting rock or something. But like while he's rummaging, I guess, like, but Reyna, you are standing in the exact spot I saw in my dream where the red dragon emerged from the Ruby Fords.
Why?
He's not saying like what he thinks about that. He's just saying that, and then going back to like pulling rocks out of the riverbed and looking at them.
Yeah, she looks dreamy.
Nobody finds, alas, nobody finds any rubies. And Robert Frey gets to work on that. He's like, also great grandpa could come back and find rubies. And he's looking, and Gwyneth is out there looking as well. She's hiked her skirts up, and the kids are like, listen, I'm going to find a ruby. Maybe nobody's looked right here. Maybe nobody's looked right here. adults are too tall. They didn't look right here, right?
I mean, Adam would genuinely just be happy with a cool rock. He's not.
Yeah, and you are. Yeah, yeah.
He just wants. He wants a distinctive rock for a memento.
Yeah, you are able to find a very smooth stone. Just absolutely like almost. Yeah. As you pick it up and you kind of rub it off a little bit, and you take a look at it, and yeah, that's definitely the shape of an egg. It's chicken egg sized, but yeah.
Oh, look at this one. It looks like an egg. It's like a little.
Oh,
That's
you
cool.
can add that to the collection that you started on your desk at Wyvern's Rest.
Oh yes, Bela did start me off with a quite impressive one, so I think maybe my thing will be collecting egg-shaped things. But yeah, it was like
Egg-shaped
it's basically like
or
like
egg?
this vibe.
Obviously, Rusty. I
So
think my max value increased.
Right?
So all right, it's a pretty powerful moment, and you're kind of able to recreate it. Bela would be doing it under her breath if she wasn't doing it aloud. But as you're thinking about the battle and you orient, you notice that Bela was standing where the Dornish lines were charged. She just kind of put herself where the Dornish spearmen were. Not quite as far distant as the farthest distant Dornishmen, right? But like, oh yeah, no, like this was about it. And then you're thinking, okay, and then if this was the center of the line, off to the right a little bit, down to the southeast, you're pretty sure that Lucaris is off splashing naked in the shallows, where a couple members of the Kingsguard were leading a flank. So you guys are just getting a pretty strong historical vibes here. Does Bela mention who broke the Dornish lines at the Battle of the Trident?
Yeah, probably doing a faithful retelling of what I know of it. And even though it maybe isn't the best for our side, it's worth knowing the history, right?
So yeah, you are standing just about where Prince Lewin Martell of the Kingsguard was cut down by Lady Forlorn. You just realize as you're gesticulating and
Yeah,
describing
I've
the
been
battle.
somewhere around here, actually.
No. Fascinating.
Maybe this very spot I'm standing. Maybe.
So pretty close to it, and again, you can definitely make out the broad strokes. So yeah. Anybody else? Any particular?
Often Lady Forlorn gets blamed.
It's
like,
fault.
by Lady Forlorn, like.
Herself was out there killing people.
I'm gonna go. I'll clean up, spend a few moments kind of thinking over things, and head back to basically the traveling group, the convoy, the wagons.
Did you enjoy your swim, Luke?
Yeah.
Look at my rock. It's like a little egg.
It looks like an egg. Is it a real egg?
No, it's a river rock. It just looks like that because it's worn smooth by the flow of the river over time. It's probably been sort of hewn into this shape over possibly tens of years, maybe more.
Maybe hundreds of years. Who knows?
Also, I like this was the spot from my dream, and
the weird dream you had, you kept telling us about?
yeah, it was like when I was moving towards the river, just like felt really strange, and then I saw that Reyna was standing in the river right at the spot where I saw the dragon come out of the Ruby Ford and fly around. I think Reyna's going to do something very important someday.
Like turn into a dragon? I nudge her with my elbow.
I mean, it's symbolic.
Yeah.
Although I mean, stranger things have happened, but I'm pretty
I had a
sure.
dream too that Reyna got us all tortoise purses, and then Reyna was like, "Let's get naked," and I was like, "No, because that's weird." And then she became Grandpa Makar. So like, dreams are just
Luke,
weird sometimes.
Luke, stop dreaming.
I'm trying.
I mean, that last part definitely seems symbolic. I mean, I don't mean that she'd literally turn into Grandpa Maker, but she is his heir. She'll take over House Nymaryen once he's no longer alive.
It's true.
See? Important.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
In the river.
Well, Reyna, if you feel like you're sprouting wings at any point, just give us some warning first.
I'll send a raven.
Okay. Appreciate it.
But if you eat the raven, let us know too, because that could be a sign.
So,
Reyna
Adam.
fried raven.
The disrespect.
RFA.
Fine. Like, don't believe me. I'll just get cold.
I believe you had a
believe
dream.
you.
What do you want from me, brother?
I don't know what I want. They just feel like more than dreams, and I don't know how to explain that I heard a dragon roaring.
Wait, when? In the dream or right now?
Right? Well, not right now, but like while I was looking at Reyna in the river.
But you were awake.
I was awake, and I had like lots of bells ringing in my head, sort of sound like very just like lots of noise, and then just before it stopped, I heard a roar.
You know,
That's
as
not a
far
dream.
as
You were awake.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're visions, Luke, not dreams.
For the record, keep in mind that dragon dreams are a known thing. Before
Yeah.
Luke continues to poo-poo this too much, like it's
Oh,
known
I
that
am.
those
I
with the
am.
blood of the dragon are known to sometimes have hauntingly prophetic dreams.
Interesting.
Because there's no specific record in our immediate family, I will continue to poo-poo it, yes.
Look, as far as prophetic dreams go, this one is quite nice, and I'm all for it.
I like that. Yeah, thanks for getting behind me.
Well, it's no secret our family's had somewhat of a rise of dragons, so to speak. So
We are
perhaps
on the
perhaps there's something to it.
and she's about to marry into a very powerful house.
It's also true.
Will increase our fortunes moving forward as well.
But anyway,
For Nymaryans.
we can just carry on with our lives, and when Reyna is extremely powerful, I can say I told you so.
But the dream is that she meets the dragon, and hey,
It's a symbolic dragon, not a literal dragon.
When you breathe fire, make sure Luke goes first.
yeah, we can
For
definitely use
doubting
some
you.
fucking real dragons, what we saw back in Harrenhall.
Dragon dreams. I mean, I'd be surprised if none of us were having dragon dreams or thinking about dragon dreams or having visions at this point. We've done a lot,
We have.
and we've continued to improve our futures, and we're expanding our influence over the lands that are around us and that aren't so close. I mean,
Exactly.
and we've
Right.
I mean, I
we have
could go into.
alliances with
Yeah.
ancestral ancestral enemies that we're turning into allies.
Exactly. So we right, like, rising up out of the place where our ancestor fell. You know, I think they're.
I agree, but I have a hard time believing that means we should listen to Adam's dreams.
I mean,
Already coming true, so you don't have to listen.
And it's not telling us to do anything. It's not an instruction. It's a this is a thing that may be.
Well, we could use some instruction. If we're gonna have prophetic dreams, we could use some that have some sort of suggestive action in them.
Oh no!
Oh, I decree that you must give me some of your pastry at lunch.
For a reminder,
The raspberry one.
for a reminder to viewers, he had this prophetic dream just after the Battle of Ironwood. So it was the day that the army was breaking camp, and you guys are making your way back home to Wyvern's Rest, where you might remember eventually came a couple pretty important letters about the fate of House Nymaryen and the Stoneway and all that stuff. So you guys have been certainly on the rise distinctly since the dream. I don't know if you told him about it like that day, but it was that spot in the timetable.
Yeah, it was like on the way home. I think it was soon after. He'd probably have mentioned it that like very soon after, once he thought about it a bit or something. But yeah, I don't want to like dwell on it or anything. I just wanted to engage with it.
And I find them interesting. I just not convinced they're telling us the future yet.
And that's all right. That's why I look forward to saying "I told you so" later on. I mean, unless another one comes in and tells me different.
Any further particular conversation? All right. You lot make your way further north, across the river, dragging a reluctant Robert Frey away, rubyless. But
Like,
there's...
Robert, I can just give you a ruby.
It's not the same. It's supposed to
Find
find
a
them.
ruby. Yeah.
It's not called the Adam Ford. It's called the Ruby Ford. Because you're supposed to find rubies here, not find atoms that give you rubies.
Challenge accepted.
So he looks a little disappointed.
And I want to,
Gwyneth,
and I want to like hide a ruby in there for him to find on the way back or something.
yeah, you guys will be coming down a different way, actually. But
Damn it.
unfortunately, you got about half a day's ride ahead of you, and just as it's starting to get dark, you lot pull into the inn at the crossroads.
Oh, famous.
Not particularly. It's kind of a big deal in the books, but you know.
Well, everybody stops here at some point, so.
Yeah, it's old. You know, it is often called the Old Inn because it's been here a while and gone through a bunch of names and stuff. Hundreds of years old. But yeah.
Quick, somebody invent Crossroad Blues. Go.
So it's a nice place. Again, compared to Harrenhall, it's shit, but every place is. And it's also a lot warmer feeling, right? A lot cozier, a lot more lived in. This nice lady, Maester, is giving everybody sweet cakes soaked in honey. It's just part of the meal. The meal itself is just stew, and then you get a couple rolls, normal stuff. But she comes back through not long after, and everybody gets, you know, this plate with these dripping sweet cakes. The inn isn't, or the wine isn't like bad, but you guys are a little spoiled where it comes to wine.
Independent rooms here, or is it kind of like a communal thing?
It's 3 stories. There certainly are rooms. Yeah, you guys will have independent rooms, or you could double up if you wanted. right? But
I bless for me and more about Gwyneth, making sure she's at a place by herself.
yeah, she will definitely get her own room, unless it would be with Bela or Reyna. Same with Philea will, or with Philea. She could also stay with Philea. Any of those would be appropriate, but yeah, they're not. So yeah, it's all just pretty nice. The food is unremarkable, but sometimes that's a nice break, right? The same way sometimes you just want a fucking cheeseburger, right? Like sometimes
Right?
just some some good old venison stew with potatoes, and some leeks and carrots and stuff, like just hits the spot, right?
Yeah, I call it a plain food.
Yep. And in character, you probably call it northern food, and Lord knows Alisane's digging in. But yeah, it's just nice. Those honey cakes are kind of the only standout thing. But you can see why this place does good business. And of course, heading away from it is the high road towards the Vale. The Eyrie in particular, it dead ends from the Eyrie down here. And only a half day's ride back is the Ruby Ford, where the KINGSROAD also breaks off to the Red Fork, which goes all the way west. And so it's not just the location that's keeping this place in business, right? Like it's a pretty nice place. Yeah, and an unremarkable inn, but sometimes that's all you're after on a road trip, right? But that night, deep in your sleep, it happens again, Adam. You dream of a river. It's cool and bright and clear watered. You can see the fish swimming in the shallows. You can see all the way to the bottom of it. It doesn't look very deep, and you can see the colored, smooth rocks nestled against the silt and soil. And then the water ripples. The water ripples again, this time going against the current, against the stream. The water begins to roil and splash wildly. No, it's not just the water, it's the ground beneath the water. Finally, there's a triumphant heave, and a great beast rises up from amidst the water, sand, and stone. The beast is all fangs and claws, all wings and tail, all red scales and white-hot fire. It is pure power. It is pure majesty. It is a dragon, a titan of old Valyria, scarred, perhaps left for dead, but ready to rule once more. It roars out anger and pride in equal measure, steaming the river all around it with its fury, and then it takes flight, rising with your point of view so high that all of Westeros falls away beneath it like a map. And then you awaken, and it's breakfast time. So it happens, it feels like somehow that dream lasts all night. And you do not doubt in the slightest that it's the exact same dream. Like the stones looked the same, everything about it, the dragon looked the same. It's all that exact dream. Yeah.
Which he will probably mention that, like, at breakfast, but only to Reyna this time.
You see Reyna first on your way down to breakfast. So, yeah, it's easy enough.
Yeah,
Ooh.
so,
Go together.
Yeah, I guess, like, as we're going down to breakfast, like, I had that exact same dream again. That I had after the Battle of Ironwood. Exactly the same, like, everything.
You didn't dream, Reyna. You actually didn't sleep very well. You assume it's those honey-soaked sweet cakes that are the only reason this place works. Because the bed maybe it was the bed, maybe it was the noise outside, but you were just restless and listless all night. One of those nights, and you just weren't even able to, like, sleep at all. But here's your baby brother having fucking prophetic dragon dreams, while you're left just kind of feeling a little irritable this morning, a little out of it.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to sleep deeply enough to have your dragon dreams last night, brother.
Oh, did you not sleep well?
I don't think I slept a wink. Uh,
Oh dear, I'm sorry.
it's not your fault. It's just that I don't know. I was just awake. I had no reason.
Well, as we continue our journey, I suppose Bela and I could ride on either side of you, so if you fall asleep on your horse, you don't slide off.
Try not to sleep on the horse. That's always it's not advised. But
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
but I'm not surprised you might have the dream again. I mean, it was fresh in your mind after our visit yesterday, and
Yeah, I think it may have been the visit to there before that did it.
yeah, and we were talking about it, and so it was there. Yeah, you were thinking about it. So, but it was the exact same.
Exactly the same. Like that doesn't happen with any other dream I have. Like I even remember the same shapes of the stones under my feet.
Even my Oris dreams are different every time. Yeah,
It's odd, but I guess that's the nature of dragon dreams.
Mm.
I
Thanks
suppose.
for not. Thanks for believing me.
Thanks for not pulling a Luke. He's very practical, our brother.
Well, that's not a word I would use to describe him.
where other people's dreams are concerned, along with their hopes and feelings.
Let me back up. Maybe not
But-
practical.
okay.
Maybe the word I'm looking for is prosaic. It's very much what's in front of me is what's real, and he his
And
dreams
that's all
are
right. It just.
yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just doesn't lend towards.
Thank you.
It's valuable.
He's fine. He's fine.
Fine.
But yeah, that was basically kind of all I had to part.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and cut it there then, unless anybody has anything in particular that they want to roleplay this morning. I feel like it's kind of a cool fade to black of your crew leaving the inn at the crossroads and heading off down the KINGSROAD. Kind of a nice remainder of road trip shot, you know?
I think it's fair.
So,
I mean,
that's where we'll cut.
it's fair, but also in my heart, I'm like, no, need to go another hour.
So what remains for your trip, you lot know, is just following the KINGSROAD north along the Green Fork of the Trident. There are no lords of note on the side of the river, and the only, the next crossing of note is the Twins proper. So you're just following the KINGSROAD. You will be staying in like campsites, for lack of a better term, for this stretch. But yeah, you are able to make your way north. There will be no visitors of note or anything like that. And we will pick up in 2 weeks at the Twins for wedding. So
Hey,
yeah, we will see everybody back here 2 Sundays from now for the wedding of Sir Vannon Rivers and the Lady Tita Frey, the 4th daughter of Walder Frey. So, like right
I
there,
like that name.
Tita.
Uh-huh.
Yes, Steve.
I like that. It's different.
For a quick reminder, she is herself the daughter of a Blackwood. His second marriage was to Alyssa Blackwood. So,
Dan is very
See how things go.
cousin then.
a distant one, perhaps. With that, though, let's take off. We'll see if we're back here in a couple weeks. In the
Alrighty.
meantime,
A lot of
I'm
fun.
here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, playing some PC games. So feel free to swing on by and hang out. Thanks for watching, everyone. We hope you had a good time, and we appreciate the bits and cheers and subscriptions and
Yeah,
follows.
definitely. Thank
all
you.
your normal
Be useful
kick-assery.
soon.
So we appreciate it, everybody.
Big thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.